What's going on to all my Marvel MCU fans, Falcon and Winter Soldier fans, Black Widow fans, and everyone out there? This is Elliot here. We're back another Saturday, another great time to be talking about some of our favorite stuff out there as far as MCU and the Falcon and Winter Soldier. This is like my favorite day of the week. It's Saturday, it's beautiful outside, but we're also talking some of my stuff that I love, which is the MCU. And I have some amazing people to talk about the second episode with, as well as kind of dive into some of the news that we got from Marvel this week. But before we dive into the discussion, first and foremost, for everyone that's tuning in live, we appreciate you. Again, it's so nice out. I appreciate you coming in on this Saturday, as well as my guests and my co-host joining us today. But we're going to dive into this discussion. So make sure you all are liking the video, sharing the video to everyone you know that loves Marvel, MCU, Falcon, Winter Soldier, and all the good stuff, because we have a great discussion every single Saturday. So I want to have as many fans on this discussion as possible. So make sure to share the video. And those watching the replay, if you could do the same, we greatly appreciate it. But enough of me yapping and gapping. Got to bring in my co-host, a man that won't be with us today. She's doing some family stuff, but she will be back next week. But we still have a great panel of people to discuss this episode with my co-host, who's always here, my man representing the East Coast. We got Chris from Tait. What's up, man?
What's going on? Happy Saturday. I'm going to try to hold it down and say nice things about Anthony Mackie and Amanda's absence. That's tribute.
You got to, man. You got to show her some love, man. But Chris, man, glad to be back, man. If you want to let the people know, again, if this is their first time tuning in, where they can find you and a little bit about your content, my friend.
Yeah, for sure. Happy Saturday, everybody. My name is Chris Tait, and I am the CEO of Tait's Take. I'm doing movie reviews, TV reviews on YouTube. You can find all information in the bio here, but all my personal stuff, my Instagram, Twitter, my email, in case you guys have business inquiries, if you kind of want to inquire about some stuff business-wise, it's in the bio there. But I'm really excited to be on this stuff. Marvel's my favorite topic, so I'm really excited to get into it this week.
Yeah, man. And we got an interesting episode to break down today. Some discussion, some social commentary that continue from episode 1 into this episode, and some introductions to some characters for the first time in the MCU, man. So I'm excited to talk about it. But one of the things I always love about this show, besides, chopping it up with Amanda and Chris, is the amazing guests that we get the opportunity to chat with. And today we got a returning guest and someone that's making their debut, per se, on Movie Files. I'm so excited to have them on. So I'm going to bring in my first guest, who is returning to the channel. I said it when she was on here a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to continue to say this. She's an incredible content creator. She does a lot of great stuff on her channel. She has an amazing community. She just came back from a vacation and back on the grind. I'm talking about the one and only Tessa from Mama's Geekly. What's going on?
Hey, thanks for having me again.
I'm
excited to be here. Excited to talk about this show. It's so good.
Yeah, and you came back in perfect time. Again, you were on vacation for a week, taking some time off, still pumping out videos, which is crazy. You're still making content on the vacation, which just shows the amazing dedication you have to your community that you're built. But Tessa, if you want to let the people know, if this is their first time tuning in, where they can find you and also about your content.
Yeah, you guys can find me at Mama's Geeky here on YouTube, but also over on Twitter and Instagram. I talk about all things geeky, really. So entertainment-wise, we talk about movies and television shows, comic books, video games, all that sort of stuff. And I actually just put a video up talking about the first 30 minutes of Pixar's Luca that I got to watch. So you guys have to check that out.
Ooh, very cool. I cannot wait for that film. That's coming out later this summer, right, on Disney Plus?
It's coming out in June 18th without premiere access.
Without how do you pick, choose what movies are free and what you got to pay for? That's a discussion we'll get into a little bit with another film that just got announced for Marvel. But last but certainly not least, this gentleman here, been a fan of his content for a very long time. He has an incredible YouTube channel himself. He has a weekly show that he does on his channel with amazing people on there talking about MCU, DC, Mortal Kombat. I mean, you name it, he's going to cover it. So excited to have him on the show to talk about the Falcon Winter Soldier. I'm talking about the one and only Brandon from Just My Opinion. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How y'all doing?
Doing good, my friend. Doing good, man.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
No doubt, man. Like I said, man, and I know Chris said it earlier, man. A big fan of your content. Excited to have you on and chopping it up with myself and having Tessa here as well, man. But if you want to let the people know where they can find you and also what you're great at in sharing your opinion on your channel, my friend.
Cool, man. Well, I'm Brandon Keith Avery with Just My Opinion Reviews. I'm primarily here on YouTube, and I do movie reviews. I do trailer reactions, TV recaps, and entertainment news. And as Elliot just said, I just kind of started like a weekly movie news roundup show. And I just really talk about stuff that I think is cool. You know, I really love Marvel. I really love DC. Marvel, especially. That's just my absolute favorite. You know, anything that Kevin Feige is dropping, I'm going to be talking about it or geeking out about it. And so, yeah, I mean, that right there, I love comic book adaptations, action, adventure, but just movie reviews, trailer reactions, and entertainment news. And if I'm lucky, I may get an interview here and there, but not much. But yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
Awesome, man. Excited to have you on again. For, Chris, Fortessa, and Brandon, guys, all their links are in the bio. Do yourself a favor and check them out. You will not be disappointed. So before we dive into the recap and breaking down the Falcon and Winter Soldier, there was some news, DC, first and foremost, has been dominating the last 2 weeks with Zack Snyder and then casting this week. And just, even yesterday they had the Suicide Squad trailer, which is just taking up the headline. So Marvel's sitting back like, okay, we see you, DC. But they still had some interesting news that came out this week. So just kind of getting my panel's opinion. And, of course, the people in the chat, first and foremost, my apologies for not welcoming everyone into the chat. We got Jacob, we got Justin, we got Anthony, we got a lot of great people in the chat. What's going on, everybody? So again, make sure you're joining the conversation, like the video, share the video, all that good stuff. Let's have a fun time. So we got some news from the MCU, Chris, and starting with your thoughts on this, man. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. Black Widow finally gets a release date in regards to they pushed it back, which we'll talk about there here in a bit, but it's going to be on Disney Plus and in theaters the same time. So, Chris, my first question to you, man, is why so damn long? Why did it take so long to make this decision? Starting with you, man, what's going on?
Yeah, that's a great ask. I wish I knew the answer myself. I think it's nonsense. I think adding that May date made no sense. You kind of like we get COVID at this point. Like we kind of get the trend of where we're going here. Like we're not going to the movie theaters in bulk yet, but in May, it's like, what was the point of the May date? Like in July, now of course everyone could be vaccinated and all that kind of stuff. So I'm sure the movies theater, access will be greater. But like, what did you guys wait for this? Like you knew where we're going to be at in the summer. You knew it wouldn't be like back to normal in the summer. So like I don't understand what the point is, but like I'll be gladly watching it in the theaters by July 9th. And then, another $30 decision for the world to make. I mean, if you got a family, then it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like $30 to watch this in my crib and then scroll through Instagram. Like, I don't know.
Tossing it to you, Tessa, in regards to not only what took your theories, your predictions on why this took so long to make this decision, but also the hype train. Is the hype still there for you for Black Widow with it being delayed after delayed after delayed? Just your thoughts on this.
The hype is so far gone at this point. I have not allowed myself to get any more excited. Like I was so excited at first, and now I'm like, whatever, she's dead already anyway. So, which is so horrible to say. But it's so bad, I know. But it's like I know I'll be excited when I'm actually sitting down to watch it.
Yeah.
But just right now, it's like I can't even. I never get excited. Like, is it really going to come out now that they've said it's going to come to actually come on to the option of the premiere access? I'm sure this date isn't going to change.
Yeah.
Right. Why they didn't just do it for exactly like Chris said. Like, if they're going to do May. Then why didn't they just keep the May date and allow it to be in theaters or premiere? Why would they push it to July? Nothing's different
between May and July. It makes no sense.
Yeah. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. But fine, I'll see it. For me, I'll go to theaters to see it, and then I'll probably buy it because, especially as a family, like I have a family. I have two girls who are very into superheroes, especially female superheroes. So as long as it's decent for them, which I'm sure it's going to be normal Marvel, they've seen all the other Marvel stuff. They'll be there won't be anything too bad for them. We'll go see it in theaters opening weekend, and then we'll get it. But I still don't know why it's not coming out in May, and I'm annoyed and whatever. I don't care anymore.
It's extremely baffling. And tossing it to you, Brandon, man, just your take again on just your excitement level for the film. Why push it back again? And in regards to just kind of the handling of this film, it just seems kind of, again, of course, Kevin Feige and Marvel couldn't predict the pandemic, but it just seems like they're dropping the ball on just this film in particular, which is supposed to be the first film in the MCU for Phase 4. Black Widow finally gets her film, and it's just they're fumbling the ball.
Well, I'm still very excited about it. My hype level, is still high. Yeah. I mean, ever since the first trailer dropped, I was on board. When it was first announced, I wasn't on board. I'm like, Black Widow movie. But after the first trailer and just still today, with it coming out in July, I'm still very, very excited. I'm happy it was pushed to July. That makes sense. When it was initially announced in May, I was just like, maybe, but that's just kind of cutting it close because these vaccines may not be rolled out, and just the general public may not be comfortable. So I always thought that it would be released in July, and I was perfectly fine with that. Mm-hmm. However, I'm very surprised that they are releasing it in July while simultaneously making it premiere access for $30. I didn't see that coming. I was like, okay, if they push it to July, that gives more people time to feel more comfortable, get the vaccine, and so people would more likely go to the theater. Mm-hmm. But the premiere access for $30 is a shock to me. Yeah. I don't want to pay that. I'll probably go see it at the theater. Yeah. But like I think Chris said, it makes sense if you do have a family. But I'm also bummed out by this because I don't know about you guys, but I get a high off of just looking at the box office receipts and seeing.
It's always fun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I was just really curious to see, okay, is this Black Widow, does it have a chance to make $1 billion? We saw Captain Marvel do that. That made $1 billion. And I was really, with Black Widow being a more popular character or more known character, but not as powerful, I was really curious to see like how much it was going to make at the box office, but now we'll never know that. Yeah, like its full potential because it's getting the premiere access. So that kind of bummed me out, but the July thing, that just makes sense to me. So,
yeah, I mean, you guys summed it up perfectly. I mean, for me, I'm still looking forward to it, even though, I mean, just a couple months ago they they let it out that Florence Pugh will be making it out of Black Widow, and she's going to be in the Hawkeye. So we kind of know where the passing the baton storyline's headed in there. So they kind of let that cat out of the bag, but it is what it is. But I'm still going to look forward to the film. If I am to theorize why they pushed it back again, I am to assume that they're going to probably market the hell out of this as far as like making sure they get, I don't think, what's her name? I would say Natasha Romanoff, but Scarlett Johansson doesn't have like a really big like following. I don't think she's on the like social media. So I think they might have her taking over the Black Widow account and making like little skits about getting people excited. Florence Pugh's doing her thing, making movies on the side, but I think they're going to they really probably want to ramp up and revamp the advertising so they can make sure that people know it's going to be in theaters, but at the same time, it's going to be at home. So maybe that's what they're saving those extra 2 months for. But we'll see. The $30 price tag to me is still baffling. I don't know how they choose between Soul being free, Raya paying $30, Luca being free, Black Widow being $30. I don't know what's the hot and cold. Again, I don't know if it's contracts, if it's like it has to be a certain way it's released, but it's baffling. Again, Marvel, Disney, they're just as confused as us when it comes to just kind of strategizing things. But I think they came up with a happy medium because I think it's a good idea to give at least people options. You want to watch it at home if you don't feel safe, or if you want to enjoy it if you're in an area that's able to see it in theaters. So like Tessa said, we got a date. That's a good thing. And we know it's going to be coming out, but we'll see what happens when the film ultimately does come out. And you were just saying there, Brandon, regarding box office receipts. I think King Kong just made $90 million overseas. So we'll see by July if things will be open up more. And it might not make $1 billion, but it might have a pretty decent box office return once things do kind of settle out a little bit more. But before we jump into the actual meat and potatoes of this conversation, there were some, just a couple other movies that got adjusted in regards to release dates. Shang-Chi got their release date changed to September 3rd. The Eternal stayed the same. We got March. I'm saying all these crazy dates. November 5th, and we got Spider-Man, which I hope sticks that December 17, 2021 date. But Chris, man, your take on these other three films as far as Shang-Chi, Eternal, Spider-Man 3. Are we going to be seeing some marketing for Shang-Chi and Eternals, which has been shot over a year ago? Are you looking forward to those trailers coming out soon?
Yeah, I really wanted to see the Eternals. That seems to be the most like unique of the bunch. Shang-Chi, I don't know anything about, so I'm excited just to learn just watching that movie, and I'm sure the movie will be dope. At this point, it'll be. I don't know. I'm just being naive, but I feel like it's hard for them to move Spider-Man. I think it'll probably stay put, especially that far out. But I'm excited to see all three. But yeah, I mean, they kind of put Shang-Chi in a tough little spot. Like they don't care about it. It's like I don't know. I don't know what they were trying to do with that. It's like if you're trying to introduce a new character, like I don't know if you want to shove it in September for was it is that Veterans Day weekend or something? Or
it might be, yeah.
If it's like the third, fourth weekend, and that's the same, that's a holiday weekend. So I mean, hopefully, people are checking it out. But it's interesting to see. I hope there's just no more real heavy date changes after all this. Like now we know like the country is mandated, our country, United States, to say like, hey, May 1st, everyone needs to be eligible for the vaccine. Just everyone will get the vaccine, but at least like it helps the studios know like what they're working with, because like before it was a little up in the air. So I hope that news kind of just gets the studios to like settle in the next couple weeks.
Definitely, man. Tessa, tossing it to you regarding we got a title for Spider-Man. We got Tom Holland making his run for Cherry and also promoting Spider-Man, but no Eternals, no Shang-Chi again. And it seems like the same thing with Black Widow. What is Marvel doing with these films? I don't understand the marketing and the strategy behind these films right now. But nonetheless, we got dates, and hopefully, with Black Widow being on Disney Plus, I guess they have a backup plan. If things don't work out, Shang-Chi and Eternals will be on Disney Plus. But your take on these three films and your excitement level for trailers potentially coming pretty soon?
Oh, I hope they don't end up on Disney Plus. I mean, eventually, but not to start with.
Right.
I don't understand how we don't have trailers for these two movies, or three really, but especially like Eternals, like you said, they're shot, they're done. They've been
already
done.
in can, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I don't. It's not like I'm sure they have trailers ready and edited. They just need to put a date in there, and then they can send it out. So I don't know. Hopefully, we get some stuff soon, especially maybe around Black Widow. Like I would love to see trailers for all of these out with Black Widow. That would be amazing. I don't know that will happen, but hopefully none of these move. I mean. Yeah. We know where we're at now, like Chris said, everyone has to be eligible by May 1st, so they know. I can't imagine things changing. The only thing that makes me nervous is Spider-Man just wrapped, Yep. And of course they've been working on it, I assume, this whole time, but it makes me, I feel like, I don't want to see it move. I hope it stays, and I hope it will. I don't know. I'm nervous that they just finished wrapping, but there's still a few months.
Yeah, 9 months before it comes out. There's a lot of, and like you said, with Marvel, there's a system now. I'm pretty sure that when they shooting something that day, they send it to people to check it out and get it all taken care of. And with Sony being on part of the board, they probably have even more people to man the the production of it all. But again, it's just so weird that Shang-Chi, and I was surprised that we didn't get Eternals anything, because Chloe, all the buzz coming from No Man's Land, I thought that would have been perfect.
Would have been the perfect
drop a trailer and get all that stuff out. But who am I? I'm not Kevin Feige and the people at Disney. But Brandon, man, your take on maybe seeing some, and I don't know if this is an idea, but I would love to use Disney Plus as a platform. Falcon and Winter Soldier finale, give us a Shang-Chi trailer to get people hype about the finale, or give us, something from the Eternals behind the scenes or something to get people excited for the film. But what's your take on the lack of trailers, marketing, anything, TV spots for these two films? But do you think also that Spider-Man will keep its December date as well?
That is a great idea. The first thing you said about like the finale of the Falcon and Winter Soldier, using that as a platform to for Black Widow or Shang-Chi, that would be super dope. I would love to see these trailers. I'm one of those people, like, the movie can come out 2 years from now. I still wanted to see a trailer, like the main type of the sparkles and the stuff. But it while that bums me out that we're not seeing anything, it makes sense to me, just because there's still just so much unknown right now. And for the past year and a half, everything has just shifted so much. And, I don't think they just want to blow their load on the marketing too much early and then have to shift it again. I don't think things will move. I'm happy with the dates now. It kind of, what's up, man? It kind of makes sense to me. And I'm some of you were saying, Chris, about the Shang-Chi date in September. I'm really looking forward to that date to see if it will make money, because I don't know, but I'm thinking maybe the Shang-Chi movie will do for the Asian community like Black Panther did for Black people. And Black Panther didn't do too well overseas, but it still did well domestically here. So I'm just really seeing how that would do in a September release, because that's not typically a blockbuster time to be releasing things. People are going back to school and other stuff. So that's pretty curious. As far as Spider-Man, I try not to get too excited about Spider-Man stuff, just because it's still being handled by Sony, and I wish it was back at home at Marvel. I still don't trust them, but I think if anything were to move, I think it may be Spider-Man. Like you said, Tessa, because it just wrapped. And I don't want anything rushed. I'd rather you just take your time. But we'll have to see. But I'm really excited about Shang-Chi, because I'm a diehard martial arts fan, and I love comic book adaptations, and that's like the perfect
match made in heaven. Yeah, man. I'm super. All these films, Spider-Man is definitely the hype for that. You know, obviously the rumors out there. The someone posted a picture of like the wrapping gifts that they gave, and I guess someone noticed that it was Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man on the shirt. Which, you know, there's all that stuff. Tobey Maguire, they coming back, so the hype level is extremely crazy for that. But Shang-Chi, like you said, Brandon, I'm really looking forward to some hand-to-hand combat because we don't get a lot of that in Marvel. It's powers and magical things and portals, but like actually fighting, you get that in. Obviously, we'll talk about that in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but there's not a lot of that, so I'm really excited for that.
Can I say something else about
Shoot
that?
For it, man. Yeah.
My expectations are high because with this being Marvel Studios, this is arguably the most successful film franchise in cinematic history.
Yeah.
They have all the resources, all the hundreds of millions of dollars, and you know, they've worldwide box office. So I'm going in expecting this to be one of the best martial arts movies I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. And I don't think that's me. I don't think that's unrealistic. You know, there's no reason why fight choreography and like the Raid or the Raid Redemption can be so good with a $5 million, $5 million budget of $4 million. But then you have 150, 200, you know, come on, you know, that it would be embarrassing to me if that film or Mortal Kombat that's dropping in a few weeks, if the martial arts is better than that. Plus, Shang-Chi himself is the best martial artist supposedly ever. So that's just my expectations.
I'm right there with you, man.
I hope it's good, but I just had to.
The excitement is there. I'm right there with you. I can't wait to see that first trailer. I think it is going to be incredible. It sounds like it's going to be like Mortal Kombat. There's going to be a tournament. We're getting the real Mandarin. You know, they got a great cast. So the hype level for this, and like you mentioned, coming out in September. I think the only films I can think of right now that's coming out in September is Dune, which I believe is Dune, or it might be October. I can't remember the dates. They switched that a couple of times. But besides that, the only film I know that killed it at the box office was The Nun, and then the It movies did real in September. But those are horror films, so we'll see what an action movie can do. But let us know in the comments, guys, if you're excited for these shifting of the dates and your excitement level for these films. But with that being said, let's move over to the meat and the potatoes, the topic of the hour, which is talking the Falcon and Winter Soldier. We got our latest episode, which was titled The Star Spangled Man. So starting with you, Chris, man, just before we dive into like the breakdown and recap, what did you initially think after watching this for the first time? Your take on this second episode of The Falcon and Winter Soldier?
I thought I preferred the episode two to one. You know, episode one was high action, but we talked about it last week. I think it was me and Mike that was not really huge action junkies. Me, I like when the story progressed and we got a little like just understanding, and then the whole like Isaiah thing. I was like, this is opening the door for something that's going to be like really good. And it was interesting to see like us not all the way hate new Captain America. So I mean, I know we'll get to that later, but that was my overall thought. And I was like, wait a minute, because I went into the episode, I'm not gonna lie, someone on the internet said episode 1 was great, and before I got to watch it, episode 2 was trash, and I'm thinking, oh man, it's trash. So I went into the episode trying to find the trash, and I was ready to hate it, you know me. But then I was like, it's not trash. It's like I tried, and I like similar to Brandon, I watched it 2 or 3 times. But at the end, I was like, okay, I see what's happening here. And then like episode 3, I think will be really pivotal, especially, you know, where we are in the season. But I think it set up a lot of cool things. So I'm interested to see, you know, Tessa and Brandon thoughts on it.
No doubt. And speaking of that, Tessa, coming out of episode 2 yesterday, if you had to pick one, did you feel like the pilot was stronger, or did you like this as a follow-up to which I thought was a really good pilot? But which one did you prefer, and just your general take on the second episode?
Yeah, I liked them both a lot. I really prefer this episode, though. I think I really like seeing them together, seeing Sam and Bucky together. And we didn't get them together at all in the first episode. So I really loved that. And I just thought I liked the comedy of this. And we still got some action, you know, definitely not as good as the action we got in the first one. And I love action. But I really liked this episode because it's also setting up stuff. And it took me like a second watch. All of a sudden, I'm like, and I know we'll get into it, but I'm thinking, oh, wait. Because that means that kid, I didn't even initially think who Isaiah's grandson could have been. And now I'm like even more hyped because it just totally went over my head. Like, didn't even pay attention to him. And now I'm like, wait a minute. Young Avengers is even closer. And so I just love it. I love it. And the way they ended the episode, I thought was great. And now we're going to jump into episode 3. And I feel like it's going to be really good.
Yep,
So,
I agree. I agree. I mean, toss it to you, Brandon, before we really dive into it here, but just your general take on this second episode, and if you prefer one over the second one.
I actually prefer the first episode over the
pilot.
second.
Mm-hmm.
I love the first one, especially with all the action and we getting Sam and like who his family is, who loves him, and then Bucky in therapy. But I hate to kill the vibe, guys, but I was really disappointed with episode 2. I was let down. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't trash. But there were some things that really rubbed me the wrong way. And there were some things I liked that we'll talk about. But overall, when it ended, I was just like, And when I went back the second time, I did appreciate it more. Some of the things didn't bother me as much. But one of the things I was looking forward to the most, like you were saying, Tessa, is Bucky and Sam finally meeting up. Mm-hmm. But the thing that bothered me the most, it was just too many jokes, between them. And they worked in the trailer, but when I saw it in the context of the episode, I was just kind of just like, come on, guys. But I mean, we'll get into it.
Yeah.
Kind of my general feelings about episode 2.
Oh, and I can't wait to get into it, man. Because I would love to know kind of and I totally agree with it. I think for me, I've seen episode 2 twice now, and I think I'm kind of in the same boat. It was a really strong pilot. Again, even though they weren't on screen together and their chemistry is fantastic, it was just nice to kind of see Bucky, his headspace, Sam, like you mentioned, his family, and then obviously them coming together is exciting. But I think I'm with episode 1 right now. But there were some, like Tessa alluded to, there's some seeds being planted, young Avengers. There's a mad scientist out there by the power broker that might have a vaccine that might turn a lot of people to, some super soldiers or whatnot, which we'll talk about. But yeah, I think I've seen that criticism too. The jokes, it's that the Marvel, right? It's the Guardians of the Galaxy. Everyone has a joke. It's the, Thor Ragnarok, which I love those films, by the way, but I'm just saying like sometimes it cuts the tension when you have a joke thrown in there. They're just like, oh, can we continue that emotional thread instead of throwing in a joke here? But we'll get into it. But with that being said, before I even jump into it, I want to say what's up to a person that's been on the channel quite a few times. He was on our WandaVision discussion. I will be reaching out to more discussions with this guy here. My man representing Michigan. We got Q in the building. What's going on, Q? Thank you so much for tuning in and throwing in a super chat, my friend. Love the episode. Definitely let us know more of your thoughts of the episode, Q. But I definitely want to thank you for the super chat and everyone in the chat as well tuning in. But much love to you, Q. So let's break it down like a fraction, ladies and gentlemen. This episode, again, starting off with the Star Spangled Man opens up, which I think was a good way to introduce us to John Walker. Because last week we saw the memes of him looking, in the suit and the up guy, and this isn't my hashtag not my cap, but I don't know. This might be a hot take, but it might be Wyatt Russell, man. It might be the genes. It's the genetic genes of him being Kurt Russell's son. He has a screen presence to him, man, and I really kind of like John Carter. I mean, yes, he has this. He's not the bad guy, but he's not Captain America that we want. But I'm liking John Carter or John Walker as we meet him as a new Captain America, about to showcase himself. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the young lady that they didn't mention her name, but I think in the credits it said Mrs. Walker, so I assume that's his wife. I thought it was when I watched it the first time, I thought it was like a high school sweetheart that he maybe loved in high school but didn't fall in love because he's a soldier, doesn't have time for a family. But I think that's his wife based on I love you and like the kissing of the fingers. So I assume that they were a couple that's together. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see that it humanizes him more or less if he is married to her, kind of gives him a little bit more backstory and makes us care for him a little bit more. But what I like within this scene, again, is just him saying he wants to be his own man. He wants to represent the Shield his way. And we get his token black friend as we get into Marvel. We got Rhodey, we got Sam, he got Lamar coming in, giving him a pep talk, aka Battlestar. But kicking it off with you, Chris, how did you like being introduced to John Walker? And again, taking him out of the suit. We were first introduced to him in the suit, but now we see the man behind the suit. How did you like this kind of intro of this episode?
Yeah, I mean, he might get a pass to the cookout because he got a black wife. So, I mean, that might help in the token world. But I think the scene, it helps because it's like last week we're supposed to hate him because he comes off like a dick. He's like got his little winky thing. But here we see like, okay, he's like he feels like this is important. He got that kind of like that imposter syndrome type of feel. He's like he's nervous. He's practicing, so it's like he knows the scale of what he's doing, and he doesn't like underestimate the moment. So we're like, oh man, this is like a regular dude that just like about to start a new job and like doesn't want to.
All these people hate me.
Yeah, exactly. So I was cool with. I like the scene. the friend, the little pep talk, and that's kind of like how a friend would do, make fun of you, then uplift you. That's very normal. The girl, pep talk. I thought I don't know what kind of high school that was, but shit looked like college. And my only problem was like I thought like they were like Good Morning America, but it was dark as hell. I was like, it's like midnight.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was like in the dome
4 o'clock in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what was going on
Daylight
over there.
savings. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if that was like a fundraiser. They were trying to stay up all night, but I thought the scene helped like us understand. Okay, this is like a regular dude who wants to do well. And then you kind of learn, because people don't, if they don't John Walker, and I guess in the comics, then you kind of learn like, okay, he's not like just a regular soldier. At least he's not a super soldier, but he's still like the elite of like mortals. So they kind of like give that background of like him earning his stripes and how the studying his body and all that kind of stuff. So I thought it was an important, quick little opening. I don't know if they were like pandering with the whole like black band thing, but I don't know.
I felt like I was waiting for Nick Cannon to come out from Drumline and just bust out like a little drum beat.
Yeah,
we got that intro there.
yeah, exactly. But that was like my overall takeaway from the intro.
Toss it into you, Tessa, in regards to just kind of being reintroduced to meeting John Walker, not the fake Captain America, but this is John Walker. Quieter moment. We meet I assume his wife. We meet his best friend, who we'll talk about here in a bit. But how did you feel this introduction was handled and maybe humanizing John Walker, making the audience, okay, he's not a douche. He's just like, like Chris said, he says it in this episode. I just want to be, the best Captain America I can be. But how did you take this first intro before we kind of get into him, the medals and all the stuff and his Captain America moment?
Yeah, I hated that they tried to make me like him. I was very mad, and I was like, "What are you guys doing?" I was perfectly happy hating this guy, and now you're trying to make me like him. And he doesn't look as ridiculous without the hat on, and he actually looks like a normal person.
Right.
So but I do think it was a great way of trying to humanize him, trying to bring it into more like, this is who he is, and this is, and I didn't even catch that. I was trying to figure out who she was. I didn't even think to look in the credits.
Credits did say, it was like Mrs. Walker, so I assume that was her character. Yeah. Yeah,
because I was like, are they friends? Like, did they used to date? That's kind of how it had come off, because especially the way they did like kiss. They like, So I was trying to figure it out, but and I thought the friend coming in and the little pep talk there, I thought it was all great. And like I said, I got annoyed that it started to make me like him. Although I did start to not like him again towards the end, but we'll talk about that when we get there. But
definitely,
I just I don't want to like him, especially knowing he's not Steve, and it makes me mad. Very much like Bucky, like you're not him, so stop trying. But I did like. I thought it was a good way to introduce it, and go over real quick. Like Chris was saying, this is how his accolades and how he became Captain. And it was a good way to do it. But it was like midnight where they were out, so that was silly. Yeah,
it was a weird time of the day. But I think too, going back before we toss it to you, Brandon, this is something you just alluded to in regards to liking him and making us care for him. Marvel does a decent job of that when it comes to their pseudo villains. I care for Killmonger. I kill for what we get with Toombs with Vulture. There are characters in the MCU that you don't supposed to like. And Hayward, and my boy Hayward, Thanos, they do a good job of, again, humanizing. It's just not a mustache twirling villain. You get a little bit of understanding. We'll talk about that with the Flag Smashers too, regarding kind of, we'll talk about them. But Brandon, your take on, again, meeting John Walker, a quieter moment, the man behind the suit, him having that pep talk, as his friend says, this is the job. This is all part of it, And I also too, I did notice in the second watch that, I guess for time reference, it seems like it's been 2 weeks from episode 1 to 2, because he says 2 weeks ago we were in Chile and now we're, I'm shaking hands and all this stuff. So I guess he's been Captain America for 2 weeks now. But just your take, Brandon, on Mr. John Walker.
I didn't catch that reference, so thank you. But Tessa, I agree with you 100%. Like, as soon as it started, I'm like, what are y'all trying to do here? I don't want to like this guy, but y'all are doing a good job. Stop it, But I still just don't trust him. Most likely because we all know, even if I didn't know who his character was, there's just something about him. And it's cool that he's in the locker room, like, good morning, Captain, trying to practice. But I feel that like he has nefarious ways up his sleeve, and he's just doing that like, crap, what did I get myself into? I guess I'm really going to have to fake this and sell this charade, that I'm putting on. Chris, it was also interesting. You say you don't know about the pandering with the band, because it just didn't gel with me, you know, the way I see other marching bands and any other type of show, movie, entertainment, or whatever. And about his wife, or supposedly his wife, I'm still on the fence with that too, because they said they loved each other. We know that they went to high school, but this little kiss thing was just kind of weird, you know, like, I don't know. I don't think a husband and a wife would do that. I think that would be a little bit more intimate, but
yeah,
I don't know. So I'm still like, is that his wife? Is that his girl? I mean, maybe they dated along. I don't know. I'm
the whole sneaking in too. She said like I was sneaking into all the games, and he said that's the reason why we won. So I thought it was like, oh, she's sneaking in to hook up with him before the game, and then that like boosted his performance. I guess.
I'm confident that they maybe did have something going on. They may were in a relationship in high school, but I don't know. I'm still kind of confused by that. But something that kind of startled me or raised a question mark was when they were giving the little montage of his resume, saying that he was studied at MIT, and they showed the flashback of him training with the shield. I was very surprised with how well he was working and throwing and catching the shield. You know, with him not having any super soldier injections, because it looks like in the trailers when Sam was throwing it, you know, he was kind of getting thrown back a little bit. So that was a bit interesting to me right there. But yeah, I don't want to like the guy, but they're trying to make me like him. So, but we're just gonna have to see how things play out.
No doubt, man. And to kind of go off of that last point, going over his resume as we continue to kind of break down, you know, the interviewer says, he has 3 medals, ran for the RS-1 missions, tested positively well in all the trials, but he doesn't have super strength, which I think can tie into a potential, you know, we'll talk about our theories at the end, but I think by the end of this season, he might make a call to someone to maybe enhance himself to go against these, you know, potential threats in the MCU. But within this, like I said, the last frame we had there was my boy Bucky. Bucky is he's not happy about this news at all, as we kind of, which I love. Like you said, Brandon, when we talked about episode 1, we get more of that from Bucky in regards to maybe if Cap was wrong about you, Sam, maybe he was wrong about me, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But again, within this, one of the things I really liked about Sam's, or I should say John's kind of intro, is that it was very reminiscent of the first Captain America in regards to having the parade out there, having the talk with, if we're assuming this is his girlfriend, maybe in relation to Peggy Carter, giving him that talk, as we saw Cap having that talk with her before he went on stage, feeling like he's just a dancing monkey for the government or whatever the case may be. So I kind of like the parallels there that we get with him being this other version, this modern version of Captain America, and welcome him to the world as the new Captain America. But kind of moving on in the recap here, we see Sam is he's seeing all the signs out there. He's seeing that Captain America is back, and he's now maybe questioning if he should have gave up the shield, because to Sam, I was giving it to the museum. I wasn't saying I was okay giving it to someone else, which is something that has been kind of quietly hidden in the show. The government keeping tabs on Sam, messing with his equipment, all that stuff. I don't know if the government is the best of friends of Sam, and we'll see where that storyline goes. But it's Tesla's moment here when we finally get the 2 dynamic guys coming together for the first time all season, and we get the jokes, which I would love to know, Brandon, is this where the jokes kind of, if they worked or didn't? The three things: androids, aliens, and sorcerers or wizards, I should say, in the Gandalf joke and all that.
Was good. That was good.
That was a good joke. I did have a good laugh with that. But kicking it to you first, Chris, in regards to, again, seeing Sam, seeing the captives back, having a moment with Torres, which we didn't get much of him in this episode, but I assume he'll be back for the coming weeks. But just your take on this dynamic duo finally sharing the screen for the first time this season.
Yeah, I thought it was cool, and I thought it was cool that they didn't make it a huge deal, like at this big meetup. I was like, okay, cool. Yeah. They're just there. That's one thing out the way. The jokes. Like, I was cool with the jokes in the episode. Like, we'll get to the part later, the part of the jokes that I didn't like. But I was fine with this little back and forth. And I think at first I was kind of a little bit annoyed with the whole big 3 thing. I was like, that's nonsense. But the callback made me appreciate it too, even though I wish Mackie would have reacted to it in a way that he would have in real life. The scene was cool. You know, this guy Mackie's explaining like he's about to go on this mission and fight these bad guys that are super strong. And then he's like, I'm going here. And then Bucky's like, I'm coming with you. He's like, no, you're not. Bruh, like, you're a regular. Like, you need him to come with you. Anytime in movie history, if someone says, I'm coming with you, no, you're not, they come. Just bring him along. He's got vibranium. You need help, and he's your friend. So I thought that was stupid, but it was cool that the moment, like they didn't try to make the moment some like crazy epic,
like a big action set piece, and Bucky comes in and say, it was just like a regular,
I was cool with this scene.
What about you, Tess? Again, I know you were excited to see them finally share the screen together. Did it live up to the hype in regards to their first time in the show together?
Yeah, I did, because I thought it was perfect. Just like Chris said, like they came in together and it was subtle. It wasn't something crazy. It was he's coming to him, hey, yo, why did you give up the shield? Like, I'm mad. There's this guy running around. Like, what were you doing? And I thought that felt very natural, like something Bucky would do. So I like that. And of course, it is silly that he told him not to go with him. I thought that was silly too. I'm like, he's going to go. We all know he's going to go with you. Yeah. I liked the jokes. I love that. I mean, Guardians is one of my favorites. I get the tattoo as well. I love that silly humor that Marvel brings in, even though I know a lot of people don't. It never gets old for me. So I thought this exchange was great. I had some laughs. The Gandalf thing I thought was so hilarious. I rewound it to watch it so many times. So it's like, I read it right when it came out. I was like, that's so funny. And I love the callback to it later on. So I thought it was good. I thought it was the perfect way to get them together, not make it some crazy epic action scene. Just the subtlety. I loved it.
I totally agree with you there, Tessa, because again, this show is literally based on their interactions in Winter Soldier, with them in the car together, that banter, them fighting Spider-Man. So literally the thesis, or not the thesis, but the creation of the show came off of their chemistry. They're back and forth, kind of the jokey, kind of, we hate each other, frenemies type of situation. So I think, like you said, it was a perfect way to kind of bring them back together versus some epic kind of over-the-top montage of them fighting and someone coming in to save someone. But Brandon, started with you because, like I said, I know the jokes was something you mentioned that didn't work for you entirely. So just your take on this scene of Bucky and Sam interacting with each other, kind of catching each other up of, why'd you do this? And I don't have to answer to you and things of that nature. Just your take on this, these two characters coming together for the first time this season.
I love the way the scene started off. Even before it started, showing Bucky's, as he's looking at TV, the reaction of the mantle of seeing John Walker on TV. He's like, what the hell is this? Well, who are you? You're not Captain America. So this is perfect, because if anybody would be upset, he's been there from literally the beginning. He knows Cap more than anybody. So he has a reason to be irate and angry. And so I love this reaction right here. And Chris and Tessa, I agree with you both. I do love the way that these two met up, that it was just, they're there. It wasn't some epic thing that was drawn out. That flowed smoothly. That's perfect. And I was loving the scene because it was serious. Bucky sees this on TV. He's like, what the hell is this? I have to figure out what's going on. And immediately he goes and finds Sam. So that just makes perfect, logical, emotional sense. And he just like charges them up like, dude, what's going on? They're going. And so it was a lovely, serious scene of them coming together, and not just like, hey man, it's been a while. They're mad at each other. And so then for the joke to be thrown in with the androids and the aliens, it completely pulled the rug from under me and turned a serious moment into a goofy moment. And that would be fine, but it was just so extended, just to me personally. And it sucks because I really liked it in the trailer. I reacted to it and I laughed. I was like, man, they got stuff like this in here. This is going to be a great show. Like I said, this is continuing the banter between them in Civil War, which I liked. I loved all the jokes in that film. Can you let your seat back? That was perfect. And
no,
and that little thing like, couldn't you have done that earlier? That was funny. It was a nice, quick joke, and they went back serious. But for me, this joke right here just was a bit too long, and it just didn't land for me. Everything else in the scene I liked, but that it was just jarring, going from serious to androids and aliens. I was just like, whoa. But that's just me though.
No, and again, like you just mentioned, comedy is so very like horror, very subjective in regards to it. But I totally kind of understand what you're saying in regards to it. And it happens kind of throughout this episode in particular with the serious moment, levity joke, kind of lighten the mood again. And with it being Disney Plus, I don't know if it's a matter of like, we don't want to get too dark. We want to have a little bit of levity with the show. But I can kind of understand your criticism there within the joke and the quippy moments. And it is very the MCU is a weird place to live. Can you imagine being in a world with aliens and wizards and androids? But no, I definitely understand where it kind of could take you out of the moment. For sure.
And I agree with y'all too, as far as saying it was silly for him to be like, "You're not going with me. We know you're going." So that was silly too. So.
Which, I mean, kind of continuing the recap as we kind of see them going on this mission together. We continue to get that banter, and the staring contest continues. You know, we see Bucky, which, hey, he's not Cap, right? He doesn't have the intro kind of superhero landing. He, you know, takes off his arm, which let's just talk about this right now. Is it me or Wakandan vibranium arm is like no action? What's going on with his arm, Chris? I thought this was going to have lasers. It was going to have his own parachute. You know, Bucky can have his own thing. Like, this is a Wakandan arm, and this man has not put it to use yet, man. And this is just me just nitpicking and just being, you know, funny about this. But it seems like Winter Soldier, to me, Winter Soldier is one of my favorite characters in the MCU. Every time he's on screen, that Terminator beat, he's a badass. He kicks so much ass, but Bucky's a little bit, he's not as hardcore. Of course, he's not going to be killing people, but I just feel like Bucky hasn't been stepping to the plate when it comes to the action, man. But Chris, man, what's up with this Wakandan arm, man? Why isn't it doing anything special?
Okay, let me ask you this. Man to man, black man to black man.
If
you were running Wakanda,
yes,
would you give the white guy all your best shit?
Hey man, him and Cap had a relationship. He's the Cap. Hey, take care of my boy Cap. So he took care of him, man. Put him in the ice chamber for 2 years and gave him some swag.
They say, look, you're gonna give him this arm with all the extra shit. You know, when you get the entry level Honda, you're not gonna give him the leather seats,
warm seats.
This guy's known to turn on us in a heartbeat. So we can't give him all the. We're gonna give him the trial run, see how he do with it, try it out, and then we talk to you later for the next one. But I thought, you know, it's cool. I don't know where he got the outfit from, but it was cool to see. And then, you know, more jokes about, you know, I got the whole thing on camera. That was a fine joke for me. But yeah, it was an awkward landing. It reminded me of like that Spider-Man type landing when he's like hitting all the cars and
my back. Yeah,
exactly. So I was like, all right, this is how we doing it. He's stumbling into the game. So yeah, I get your point. I think just being, you know, under their control just turns him into more of a badass. And he's trying to do everything in his power to not just wild out, kind of like Banner, I guess. Like, I know what I can do, so like let me just try to chill a little bit. So we'll see.
And I'm being funny. I know Bucky, again, like you just alluded to, the therapist, you know, what's rule number 2, not to hurt anyone. So I get that aspect, but I just feel like Bucky is just still kind of, and I hope this is something that they carry on, that he's going to eventually release himself and just go ham and just taking out people left and right, and that Wakanda arm comes to life. But going back into the more seriousness in regards to this scene, well, I shouldn't say seriousness because it was a bunch of jokes here in regards to they land, they're on the mission. This is kind of the pitch of the show. This is a buddy cop show, essentially, where we get the back and forth, which I found to be funny in regards to, oh, it's just 2 people? Oh, okay, what about this guy or whatever the case may be? You know, or you go to Wakanda, the stealthy mode, or you think you're the White Panther, is actually the White Wolf. You know, all that stuff was kind of interesting. But Tessa, just tossing it to you in regards, before we get this actual, you know, this fight sequence here, which I thought was awesome. What did you, again, I guess, continuing the conversation with the comedy and just them two together, what do you think about just the setup before we hit this action set piece?
I just love them together. I was quite impressed with Bucky being able to perfectly rip off his sleeve. He must have had a tearaway there. That was quite impressive.
Yeah, he's been practicing.
Yeah, he had it, no problem. And I don't know why he needed to take his sleeve off, because he didn't do anything with his arm besides put it in front of a tree. But sure, it was just to show off the arm, I guess. But no, I really liked it, and I like them together. And like you said, that whole like Bucky was ready to run in, and Sam's like, hold on, let's see what Red Wing. And I did love the setup of Bucky hating Red Wing like with a passion, which I thought
he's an old
was
man.
like,
he hates technology. Yeah,
right, exactly. He's like, get it out of my face or I'll break it. Okay, which does have a great payoff, I think, in the action scene. I thought that was. Again, that was a great, like, real quick joke and then move along. But I just love these two together. And it's very much buddy cop of the back and forth. And they hate each other right now. And I think it's them both dealing with their own stuff and, you know, taking it out on each other, so to speak. But I just love them together. I think they're great.
Into their dynamic, you know, Bucky's normally used to taking orders, whether it's, you know, when he was with Cap, before he was Winter Soldier, when he was with Hydra, and now he doesn't have orders. So it's just like, what's the plan? And knowing that Sam doesn't have a plan, it probably gets under his skin. And then, you know, Sam, you're not Captain America, man. If you're not going to give me orders, I have my plan. I don't have to share it with you. So you kind of get that dynamic between the two and them butting heads. But tossing it to you, Brandon, before we go into this action set piece, what did you take in regards, again, did this comedy work a little bit better? Or was it still just kind of like, come on, can we get a little bit more serious?
It didn't work for me, man. Yeah. Unfortunately, it just, when he jumped out the plane, it could have been a great opportunity to kind of show how badass he was. Yeah. But he hit the ground. Now I liked it because it was nice initially, because he's like, "Where's the chutes?" And he's like, "Oh, we don't, you're too low for one. You're 200 feet." And they gave the shot outside of him just hovering over the trees, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is." He's like, "I don't need one anyway." I'm like, "Damn, okay, this is nice." He's gonna jump out and grab a branch, but he didn't, and he failed. And I just wasn't expecting that, and I'm just like, this is kind of goofy, And then like the Red Wing thing, I know you said you liked that, Cecil, but I was just like, it was cringy to me, But at least it wasn't like in a fight scene. But Elliot, even like when they were like behind the shelf and he's looking at his little monitor, and he's like, you only see two people. Just that whole thing, I'm like, guys, just lower your voices. You don't want to get caught. Like they're gonna kill you. Like, come on, like just take this a little bit more seriously here.
They weren't even really hiding. Like the thing they were behind was like a bookshelf.
It was like a big gap. And these are super soldiers. I think they have like 40/20 vision. They should probably be able to see people. And
it was just silly to me. I wanted to like it, but it was just like, no. And like when Red Wing was flying and like over Bucky, and he like tried to swat it away.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
man. He's an old man. He don't want that iPad. Get the stupid iPad out of my face. Give me the newspaper.
I wish it was, I like the little White Wolf reference, but just the comedy here. Now the next part we're going to talk about. I like that more.
Oh yeah,
but just this comedy thing, I just couldn't get on board. Yeah,
I hear you, man. I hear you. But before we get into that big action set piece, definitely want to show some love to my man Michael, who thrown in the super chat. Thank you so much. Just supporting. Also, they had all the black folks supporting Walker, black girlfriend, black best friend. That's cool. Hey, I guess, man, he's just a cool cat. I guess he has a black heart. So we'll see what happens with John Walker. But again, Michael, I appreciate the love and support, man, and stopping by with the super chat. Thank you so much, my friend. But as Brandon alluded to it, ladies and gentlemen, we get one of the big things about the show was this isn't WandaVision. We're going to get some action. And we got some pretty back-to-back weeks. We get some pretty high octane, as Kevin Feige alluded to. Just because we're on TV doesn't mean we're going to reduce the action quality of these shows. As we see, once Bucky hears that there's a hostage in place, and this is what I like. Okay, now Bucky's kicking out. He's like, okay, you don't got to tell me anything more, which he jumps into, which I love seeing my super speeds. I love when Cap does it. I love when Black Panther does it. And we see Bucky run into action, goes into the back of the truck here, and he meets, which we'll talk about the leader here, Karli Morgenthau. But he's hey, are you okay? Is everything okay? And he underestimates the situation, and she puts some work on Bucky there as she kicks him. But before we even get into that, just something I recognize on the second viewing, and just kind of theorizing with you guys, starting with you, Chris. I don't know if you can see it here, but it says vaccine transport. So just kind of your take on this scene. And again, we assume that they're taking this to help people, in poverty and people that were forgotten about in the blip. But maybe there's something a little bit more about vaccines being given to people that might be a little bit more sinister than the first, lookings here. So your take on, just before we dive into the action, any theories on the vaccines and what they're doing with this equipment and these resources?
Yeah, I guess I was just trying to figure out if it was the 2-shot one or the 1-shot one. Yeah, I didn't really know what it was, but I thought in the end, I was like, maybe this is just like super, like, because like there's so many super soldiers that they're fighting. I was like, maybe it's just like, it didn't seem like it was in a good intent to be like this serious. I feel like these dudes have good intent, but maybe they're being used for like a nefarious reason. So that's like kind of what I took away from it.
Any theories or thoughts on the vaccine because I think too, and this is just with social media, I think that someone said that the show was supposed to center around some, which is coincidental, some virus that gets out and they have to put a handle on it. But do you have any takes on this, Tessa, regarding this vaccine? Is it something for helping people, or is it, like Chris has alluded to, maybe it's a vaccine that turns people into super soldiers.
Yeah, I at first was just thinking, oh, they're doing this to help people, or because I do think they have good intents. I really do. Just handling it horribly wrong.
Yeah.
But then as we go on later, and you realize like there's 8 of these super soldiers at least that we know of. I started to think, well, maybe at least some of them, maybe one container is like super soldier serum or something.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. But I mean, it's all I told myself after WandaVision I wasn't going to theorize anymore.
It's to turn you to Mephisto. It's a drug that take you straight to hell. Yeah.
It's Mephisto. It's all Mephisto.
Yeah.
But of course, I find myself theorizing anyways. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some connection here with the super soldier serum.
I think there may be, because again, we'll talk about it when we get to the power broker, but that message he sends to Karli in regards to that was mine, I'm going to kill you. I think there is more than just, helping people out. I think this vaccine is a little bit more sinister. But Brandon, did you have any theories or thoughts on what this transport of these resources could be?
Man, what you just said, I didn't even put that together, because I remember seeing this in the episode, vaccine transport, and I remember her getting the text, and I was like, it's probably from Power Broker, but it didn't click with me that this was possibly the product that he was talking about, like that was mine. I was just thinking that this is possibly, just a regular vaccine to help the poor, or the disenfranchised. I didn't think that it had anything to do with the super soldier serum. It's perfect. It's definitely possible. But that didn't cross my mind. I just thought it was just, just some medicine for sick people. But yeah, I didn't even catch that this was what he was talking about when he said, you took what's mine, I'm going to kill you. So it's pretty cool right there. My mind is racing right now.
Oh, well, yeah, we'll get to when we'll talk about the power broker, we'll get into that a little bit more. But in regards to the big moments here, this is what we came to see besides the character, great moments is the action, right? So we see, Bucky in action, or I should say lack of action, because he gets pretty handled pretty easily here by these super soldiers. But I guess we got to say it, in this scene here, RIP to Red Wing, right? This is the Red Ring is taken out. So RIP to that drone, which I'm sure Sam might have like 30 of them for backup purposes. But we get that moment. We see Sam in action. We see him getting kind of handled, and as things are kind of looking bad for Sam and Bucky, and I'm so glad they didn't reveal this in a trailer. I wasn't expecting Captain America and Battlestar to come into this moment, which I actually thought, hey, man, again, a hot take. John Walker was wielding that shield pretty easily, if you ask me. But just kind of breaking it down, Chris, what were some of your moments that you enjoyed with this action set piece with Bucky, Sam, Captain America, and a Battlestar versus the Flag Smashers?
Yeah, no, I really like this scene a lot. In the trailer, I was like, another one of these, 18-wheeler fight scenes where we've seen Fast and the Furious or whatever, all this nonsense. But it's actually done well. It's like it wasn't like its own new thing, I thought. Yeah. I think I already love Karli. I don't know why. I just love her. And it was impressive to see Captain America show up without the trailer, like you said, exactly. I was so happy to see that moment not spoiled. But also I was like, it was cool to see that he was like surprised that he was like doing okay. He was like, oh shit, like
hold his own.
We're doing it. But then I'm like, how long can this really last? Like you're still a regular dude. But I thought the scene was cool, and I thought, like, for me, all the hate that I give Falcon, I was like, Falcon was doing some cool shit here. So I gave him a lot of props for the scene, the way he was, maneuvering the flight path and all that, and he's saving and Bucky from that scene. But I was like, this is all well done.
Definitely. Tessa, the action, me and you both, we talked about it earlier. We love us some action, as well as, what Brandon as well. What did you think about this action set piece and seeing the team come together to fight the Flag Smashers?
I really liked it. I hated that I was enjoying John Walker's cat, because he had some good moves, and I was like, man, what? Like, especially when he threw the shield and caught Battlestar. Oh, that was so cool. I was like, look at him. Like, I really, again, super glad that they didn't ruin this in the trailer. And it was a total surprise that they showed up and that they could kind of hold their own. And I mean, it was one super soldier and 3 normal people so far as we know, against 8 super soldiers. And they did a pretty good job. They held their own. There were some cool moves. We got to see the arm a little bit as he's hanging.
He can't catch himself, but he can hang on to a truck.
He can't hang onto a tree, but he can hang onto a truck. apparently. But yeah, I really liked. I thought it was some great action, and again, I got really mad at enjoying the new
John
Cap
in action.
and before Brandon goes, like, did anyone else think why Bucky jumped to the first truck instead of the second truck? I was like, the driver can see you. Like,
I was thinking,
yes.
dude, do not. I don't want to nitpick. That was on my mind, that whole scene, and also there were cars around. I don't understand. Like, there's cars just driving around.
Yes.
It was very like weird, but I didn't want to nitpick.
Yeah, well, then when he flies off into the car, it's like, why was that car driving so close behind them?
Tessa, I'm right there with you.
What's going on? Listen,
they didn't want to kill John. They didn't want to show that John Walker is a human, because if he would have fell from the truck, he would have died.
Right.
So I guess that had the convenience of the plot. But Brandon, man, besides those weird, action conveniences.
Oh no, they're not. We can talk about it.
We can dive into it. I will say it did remind me of Age of Ultron, though, when we saw John and fighting those people on the truck. That reminded me a lot of Cap, even though he's choking a robot, which was silly. But we see it reminded me of Captain America and Age of Ultron. But your take on this action set piece, Brandon?
Chris, you took the words right out of my mouth, dude. Like, that was the first thing I was going to say. I'm like, why are you jumping in this truck, moving around as if there's no, like, bro, like,
he's self, man. He's selfie. Remember, he's the white wolf.
He's walking around like he's invisible. I'm just like, that doesn't make any sense. So, but overall, it was still a good scene. Just the little nitpicks out the way. Again, I hated the Red Wing joke. Like, he's about to get beat up, and he's like, "Oh, I've always wanted to do that." I'm just like, "Oh, cringe." But everything else I liked. Yeah. I'm really glad that they lost. I'm really glad they got their asses kicked. Everybody, and it wasn't just Sam and Bucky. It was I'm gonna call him Baltimore. John Walker and
Battlestar.
Yeah, Battlestar.
Lamar, yeah.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad that they showed up too, and it wasn't ruining the trailers. I was very surprised by that, and I was very impressed with how well John Walker was using the shield. I'm like, damn, he really is working this thing. He's been practicing, so I can't hate on him there. Still don't like him, but he did good. He actually saved them, so I got to give credit. But it was nice choreographed. Like one of you said, I love how Sam was flying around, how the driver challenged him, like he was trying to go in and save Sam, and he saw him in the mirror. And I was like, oh, snap. But Sam had to move out the way, and then he was about to hit the car and had to go. I was like, oh, damn. Like that was nice. I like that. And he just had to take the L and save Bucky and let them go. And it was also dope when he threw the shield back and called Baltimore. So I was feeling all that, so it was just a nice experience for me, because I couldn't stand all the previous jokes and the previous scene. But then we have this nice action scene that, start raising levels for me again. So I was okay, we're in good territory right here. So, but yeah, overall good scene.
Definitely, man. Like I said, the action in this show has been top notch. Again, I'm so happy that, and no disrespect to CW, but I'm glad it's not a CW type of action set pieces, and there's like reduction of budgets and CGI. So I'm glad that MCU has consistently kept that thematic feel to the action set pieces, which is great. So before we dive into more of the episode, quick shout out to Ted with the super chat. Sam is being held down by the man, literally in this scene and figuratively in the show as well, by the government. So definitely some more. We'll get to the social commentary here in a bit with this show, but thank you so much for the super chat, and thank you to all the people that's watching this live. Again, like the video, share the video. If you haven't already, you're making a mistake if you haven't subscribed to Chris, Brandon, and Tessa. So definitely show them some love, and let's continue this great conversation. So kind of moving throughout the rest of the episode, another quieter moment here. We see John trying to get on the good side of our heroes, right? Again, Tessa, they're trying to make us like them. They're trying to make us like them. As he has this moment, he picks up our heroes, from the side of the road, and this is where our crew kind of has their banter, kind of going back and forth. Again, Bucky's not want to hear it, but he's going to hear him out. So we see John Walker talking about, let's work together. If these are super soldiers, we need to stick together. We get a little bit of that. Again, this is a storyline going on as Lamar tells, how did you guys find us? Oh, we tracked Red Wing. As John, then, this is what you don't suppose like him. I am part of the government. We don't trust the government in MCU. Hydra, sword now with Hayward. So you can't trust the government in the MCU. You can't trust the government in the real world at some cases as well, which the show is always, alluding to. But, we see John giving him this information. They have their conversation there in the back of the truck. And I'm liking this moment because this kind of continues the world building, because John tells Bucky and Sam, our job is, we work for the government to try to maintain some type of order because it's chaotic right now, right? We got 3 billion people have come back into the world. We got people stealing resources. We got people creating their own militias and their own groups. So it kind of, again, shows you, and this is what I was looking forward to in the show, is what's the world look like after Endgame, which is showing this kind of ground level of economics. The bank can give out loans. So I love this little stuff about the show that it has to offer. But then Bucky's, he's heard enough. Once Lamar tells him, Sam says, you're going to have to give me more than Lamar. Who are you? Well, I'm John's partner, Battlestar. And Bucky says, you know what? That is it. I've had enough of this. Get me the hell out of this truck. But before we get into a big moment here with Karli, Morgenthau, just your take on this scene. Again, Chris, this is the first time John's trying to embrace them. He's trying to get them on the team, but they're not trying to hear it, man.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it boils down to a lot of his problem is like he'll come into a real power complex struggle thing where he thinks he's too powerful. You get a little flash of it. I am the government, and kind of like stay out of my way at the end. I know we'll get there, but I think this is like kind of like the beginning of those seeds where we're kind of like, at this point we still like him. Like I was like, this is a very important scene. Whatever's about to happen here.
Yeah.
I was like, I get the attempt at the joke with does he always stare like that? You get used to it. Very typical superhero, nonsense.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny when they were like, they wanted to walk, but then like, it's 20 miles. They're like, oh. It's like, it's a very human moment. I was like, I don't want to fucking walk 20 miles. It's like crap, guys. So I thought that was cool, and I thought this is exactly how the conversation would have gone in real life. Like, he's trying to say like, look, I'm not trying to replace your boy. Like, I know that's your boy, but like, I'm just trying to do the best that I can. Yeah. And then Battlestar, he's just happy to be there. So he's just there for like a little the side talk and all that kind of stuff. But Bucky being annoyed at this scene, like I believed all that, so I was cool with it.
That's awesome to see you. This conversation amongst our, good guys meeting these pseudo good guys, and also again just the undertone of not trusting the government and kind of understanding where Sam and Bucky's coming from. Especially Sam, I literally gave the government a shield, and this is what they do to me. And we know Bucky doesn't trust anyone right now, especially with his best friend gone. But your take on this interaction between these four characters?
Yeah, I loved this part. Basically, every single thing that Chris said was, this feels like exactly how it would go. Sam's, super upset about the shield. Also, he was just told he's not getting a bank loan because he has no income for the last 5 years when he's literally not been anywhere for like he hasn't been there. So I loved that, and I loved talking about the government, and then also planting the seeds that this new Cap, so to speak, he's getting he's starting to really get in his head a little bit, and he thinks he's better than he is, and he's starting to get that way. And I think, we're definitely going to see a lot more of that in the future, and that's going to be his downfall. So I liked them planting those little seeds. I thought it was great. Just the whole thing. I loved the interaction between them. And I thought the staring part was funny, but just because I love it. But
yeah, he has a staring problem for sure.
He does. Listen, it's true. They maybe mentioned it a little too often, but that's what he does. He stares and he broods, and that's Bucky. But I really liked it. I enjoyed their conversation, and I did like that they hopped on and took the ride for most of the time, and then the way they got off just said forget it, and Sam's like, it's always the last line. All right, I'll see you.
He calls them the sidekicks, and that's what got Sam off the truck. But tossing to you, Brandon, in regards to again just how you're feeling about John Walker and Lamar Battlestar. Are at this point in this episode, are you on there? Can you trust them, or by this point you're starting to see these guys are a little bit there's something going on with these guys?
Oh yeah, I still first of all, great points by everyone. I agree for the most part. I love this scene, by the way. It was perfect for me. I loved how they was wrapping everything up. I still don't trust John Walker. I'm just still like, okay, I understand what you're trying to do. I respect what you're trying to do. It makes sense. All of y'all just got your asses handed to you, so why would you not want to team up and exchange information? It just makes logical sense, and I like when characters are making good decisions. So thumbs up there. I still don't like the guy. Now, what's interesting, another thing I really liked was prior to this scene, Bucky and Sam are not getting along. They're bickering, they're fighting, they're arguing, kind of being silly. But in this scene right here, they were just on code together. They just had each other's back. Like, okay, we may not like each other, but we're the Avengers. We've been doing this for a while. So without even saying anything, they had each other's back, like doing that interaction. But just the whole lines of dialogue from everybody in the truck. I like that the story itself is just really ironing out all these details about post blip and how that's affecting the world. That's not just some offshoot and it's forgotten about, kind of like like how Spider-Man Far From Home handled it in a way. You know, like ever since WandaVision, each episode is just really showing like this really, it's going to take a long ass time to recover from all of this. You know, because they started mentioning the GRC, which was like the Global Recreation Council, and I keep want to call them Baltimore Battlestar. Battlestar was talking about, you know, like reactivate, you know, like this group reactivates citizenships, Social Security, healthcare benefits, and these are just things I didn't even think about. But it's just like, damn, like you know, billions of people, they just pop up out of nowhere. They're going to have to reactivate all of this, and it's going to be a mess. You know, so I really do like that. And, you know, everything y'all said as well, just Sam and Bucky are not buying it. And he said, Battlestar, he's like, I'm out. Like, you're not the real captain, dude. And, you know, that last line, you know, I felt everybody, the conflict made sense. You know, I understand where everyone's trying to go, but they're just on different pages. And it made sense to me. So I really did. This is one of the better scenes of the episode for me, at least.
I agree with you there, Brent. Thematically, the way that this was written, it makes sense. It wasn't manufactured drama. It wasn't just drama to have drama. It made, like you said, it made perfect sense that they will be not on the same page, right? We can't trust the government, Sam and Bucky. So yeah, I totally agree with you there. And like you said, also, this is what I wanted to watch with the show was, of course, the action, the banter, the MCU, the greater MCU, but what does the world look like after Endgame? Because every single, after Avengers, whether it be Iron Man 3, him dealing with the PTSD, whether it be Age of Ultron, obviously Wanda and seeing those repercussions, and then obviously Endgame and Infinity War. So I love that. And also Captain America is important why he's such my favorite Avenger, but also just from his storyline, everything that happens in every Captain America movie is huge for the MCU, right? The first Avenger film, we get the Tesseract, you know, introducing that to the MCU. When it comes to Winter Soldier, the destruction of S.H.I.E.L.D., taking that down in Hydra, and then Winter Soldier, the breaking up of Civil War. So this show is going to have huge ramifications of whatever, you know, takes place after the show. So this is the stuff I love about what Captain America brings to the MCU. So going on
to the next thing too, about the jokes, I would have traded in the joke when he said, "Does he always stare like this?" And then he says, "You get used to it." I would have scratched that, because then Battleship or Baltimore says he says something about the big three. So then, like, this guy Mackie's been trying to get this big three joke off the whole time. I would have had Mackie look at Buck, and then Buck just said, like, "Don't." Like, I would have used that as the joke of the scene rather than the "you get used to it." Like, that's we always hear that. I was like, he didn't even acknowledge the fact that
that surprised me.
Yeah,
you would think he would have been like, yes.
To me, I took that scene as like a kind of an army code, because we know Sam has been working for the Air Force for 6 months. So I think literally in the army they probably have, like, if it's, you know, Protocol 1, you know, aliens, Protocol 2, wizards. So I think it's just like a thing, and you know, veteran or armies in the MCU are just like, those are three things we got to look out for, right? Or aliens, androids, and wizards. But yeah, that again, swapping out certain jokes, that I could definitely see where you're coming from there. But going to and then this is where I want to have the conversation with you all in regards to maybe something that hasn't been working for me quite yet, and it is the Flag Smashers, but not in particularly Karli Morgenthau. Now, the actress, I believe her name is Erin Kelly something. I can't think of her last name right now, but I think she's a good up and coming actress. She has some love in Disney. We saw her in Solo, and she always seems to have a group of people that follow her. So that's a good thing for her as an actress. Kellyman, I think that's her last name. But I like the story they're presenting to us, and not to get into the whole conversation of WandaVision and why I like what Hayward represented, not necessarily execution of the character. What Hayward represented to me in WandaVision was the thematic theme of, like, we can't trust the Avengers. We want to make our own heroes. General Ross, you know, what we'll see in the future. But right now, what they're giving us with Flag Smashers, they're not just traditional villains. They're trying to help people out, but the means of doing so might seem villainous. But I want to kick it off with you, Chris, regarding your take on not only just the Flag Smashers, but what are you theorizing, you know, Karli Morgenthau, when she mentions in this episode, once we do what we're going to do tomorrow, which I assume is whatever these vaccines are, and they're going to release a virus or whatever the case may be, but just your take on, are you liking the Flag Smashers? Are they working for you? Or are they just kind of, what's your take on this group of terrorists?
I mean, at this point, I feel like I'm supposed to understand them more than I do, and I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
Karli was a great addition to me. I was like, I like this girl already. I mentioned it before. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe it's the accent. I'm weak. but I just don't understand what it is. And then the other, what's the guy's name? The other villain that we're dealing with here.
Zemo.
Zemo.
No, not Zemo.
Power
like yes, yeah, exactly. So like, I don't understand really where we're going with it, but I got the vibe of like, okay, like these dudes, like they wouldn't have shown the scene of like the guy taking the fall. He was kind of like the sacrificial lamb. I don't think they would have shown that if they didn't want to humanize these people.
Right. Right.
So we'll see where it goes. I'm not really there yet. I don't know yet.
I don't know how to describe it. I'm right there with you, man. I don't know how to feel about the characters because I think they're trying to make us sympathize with them in a sense, but we really haven't spent like no time with them besides, like you said, the guy dying, and they go to this kind of hideout spot, and we kind of get an understanding that they're kind of, I don't want to say worship, but there's a group of people that are that support them, that want to, and it makes so much sense. Again, this is kind of my favorite comparison, that it would make sense. There's a group of people in the world that liked what went down with the blip, because it makes so much sense that for 3 billion, and I'm not trying to be sinister, and I know by no means am I wanting to be on Thanos' side, but it would make sense that for 5 years, there were 3 billion people gone from the earth, which means that poverty was probably extremely low. People were getting, help and credit, getting houses they can live in. The economy was probably thriving. And now that 3 billion people have returned, we're forgotten about. What about the people that survived and kept the world afloat, and how that can kind of transfer? So it'll be really interesting to learn more about her motivations and who her parents may be. That might be something to look forward to. But toss into you, Tessa, regarding this kind of, how are you feeling about the motives of our villains?
Yeah. Well, first of all, that's like exactly what you described. It's why Thanos did it. So he thought he was helping. But yeah, I am right there with you guys, where I feel like we haven't spent enough time with them to really understand what is exactly going on. And if you don't know anything comics wise, then you don't know anything. Like, I think that's only what's helped me a little bit, is like comics wise kind of who Flag Smasher is and what they're kind of doing. I mean, same name, except it's Carl, not Karli in the comics. But even having that, I still am like, what are they doing? What's going on? Like, normally, and I'm a villain. I love villains. I'm always the villains person.
For the villains,
yeah. And so, and in this, I'm just like, all right. I mean, I guess like, what are they? They're talking about this thing they're going to do tomorrow. So that's kind of where I was thinking, like, what are they going to release the virus? And then they have the vaccine for only their people. I don't know. I hope we get more in the next one. I mean, we're 2 episodes. We're 1/3 of the way through. And I feel like I need a little more, and hopefully we're going to get it. I think we are. I think they're setting up for more of that, although they kind of set up for Zemo. So is that going to take over next episode and we're still not going to know what's going on with these people? I don't know. I thought I would be upset when that guy died, and I just was like, oh, and she's crying, and I was even like, okay, I'm sorry you're crying. I don't care. I don't know enough about him yet, I guess.
It's something you mentioned there in regards to the gender swap in the characters, and we're assuming that Carl in the comics, which is the Flag Smasher that puts this group together, maybe the MCU might introduce him, and this is his daughter, and maybe he died, and maybe this is kind of motivations of like, the world forgotten about, my dad died because all these people came back and he didn't have the resources that he had 5 years ago. I'm just obviously theorizing that maybe something was wrong with him and he didn't have the proper resources to keep him for whatever he passed away with. And now that was her motives to be like, you know what? I'm sick and tired of now the world coming back and the government not helping my dad, the real Flag Smash, or the real, Karl Morgenthau. But your take on this, Brandon, regarding this Robin Hood-ish type of characters, are you feeling any emotions towards the Flag Smashers, or is it thematically, is it working for you, this group of terrorists?
I'm feeling zero emotion from the Flag Smashers. Tessa, I'm right there with you 100%. When that dude died at the end, I felt nothing at all. I was kind of saying to myself, that was stupid. You could have got away, but I don't want to think too far ahead.
They could have. They're super soldiers. Like, you can't just hurry up.
It was kind of silly. But I mean, what is her name? I mean, she's cute, and I respect what she's trying to do. Like, I can, like, the show hasn't presented it to us yet that that there was some euphoria doing the blip and everybody was holding hands and in unity, and that makes sense. I get it, but if we're going to be getting this much screen time from these Flag Smashers, it does need to be fleshed out more, because it just hasn't, and I don't feel anything for them. I'm nervous too because we only have 4 episodes left, and I'm like, are we gonna have enough time to develop these characters as well as Zemo and whoever else is behind the scenes? I don't know, and they're obviously trying to humanize these characters because, like y'all said, he did it. He sacrificed himself, and you have these other people that are taking them into their homes. Like, oh my gosh, you guys are legends, and we cook chicken lizards, and we got this internet, and we, my wife cleaned up and made the bed. So they're not evil,
right.
But I just, who are they? I don't care right now, and I'm kind of wishing that we had 9 episodes. Just I don't know. I'm a little worried that they're not going to be able to tie every bow by the end of this series. But we'll see.
We will see, and that is such a great point, and that is the gift and the curse of Marvel. We know that this is only 6 episodes, but we know, unlike any other property, that DC, there might be a director to a project this day, and the next day the project's canceled. But we know that there will be more stories to be told in the MCU in Phase 4, so it has that to its advantage. And I already know that there's going to be certain storylines that we will not get wrapped up in this show because they're going to probably announce, the actual Captain American 4 being, Sam Wilson, and they maybe continue thematically some of the themes, Secret Invasions, Hawkeye. There's going to be like a through line, but I'm totally with you there, man. 6 episodes. Zemo's in the mix. We still haven't met Sharon Carter yet. We just got which we'll talk about Isaiah here in a bit. So there is.
I forgot about her too.
There is some storylines that will probably not be wrapped up, but we'll see. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they're going to give us these next 4 episodes. We'll probably flesh these characters out, but I'm right there with you all. I'm not really feeling. It's kind of hard to take them as like the serious villains because once they take off their mask and we see them just being like, oh, we got a bed, we got chicken, to me it's like, okay, you guys don't seem too menacing. And then on the sympathy side, I don't know them to care to be like, yeah, they're sticking into the government. We, like you said, Brandon, the only thing we saw from Endgame was, or to say the blip was in Endgame, because Spider-Man didn't give us any of that, right? It was all, they were on the trip, it was happy out, well, not happy, but it wasn't diving into the world. But in Endgame, we see Cap go to the meeting, we see Natasha Romanoff and her kind of moments of sadness, and it felt like an episode of Leftovers, but that's like the only thing we saw in the MCU regarding the post, the blip. So it will be interesting, I guess. There's another spinoff show for Disney, right? The Blip, the 5 years of exploring.
I would watch that. People coming back. Can you imagine you're dating someone new and like your spouse comes home? How does that even?
Hey,
I want to see multiple series in that 5 years.
I would love that.
I would love that, specifically Ronin. But
which again begs the question. I think each show will probably dive a little deeper into that. I think She-Hulk is a perfect show to explore a lawyer bringing people back, how that looks legally speaking. People were in jail for 10 years and then they were blipped for 5 years, or they have a 5-year reduction off their jail sentence, things like that. Like,
that's a fair question.
It is, right? Yeah. So I mean, I think there will be future shows that will be diving into the post blip. Hey man, this is stuff I think about all the time, man. Like. But nonetheless,
that's really good.
Cutting back to the episode here again, let us know in the chat, everyone, how you guys are feeling about Karli and her squad of Flag Smashers. But I think this is where the show, and I can't wait to hear you guys' thoughts on this. So as we kind of go through, we get more of the dramatic beats. We see Sam and Bucky on the plane talking. We should just steal the shield, Sam. Sam's like, dude, no, we're not stealing that. You know what happened last time? Sharon was a fugitive. Me and Steve are on the run. We're not doing that. He tells him, I want you to meet someone. So we go to Baltimore. I love this. I don't know how this joke worked for you, Brandon, and everyone on the panel. The Black Falcon. My dad calls you Black Falcon. Well, should I call you Black Kid? Did that joke work for everyone, or was it just too on the nose?
I liked it. It was cool.
Tessa, was it a good joke for you?
I enjoyed it. I like all the jokes though.
I know, and this is gonna get Tessa here. Ralph Boner. I know that's your number one joke in the MCU.
I giggle every time. I can't. It's
Chris,
so funny.
Chris, what about you? The black joke. Did it work? Black Falcon.
Me, I wanted to hate on the scene. I was like, but what got me is when he told his friend, I got that. And I was like, okay, this is a human here.
Yeah. But and enough of the jokes here, because this is where we get serious, right? And I can't wait to have this discussion with you all. As we see, they approach this door. which, by the way, that is Elijah Bradley, who opens the door, which Tessa talked about a little bit earlier. This is very similar to WandaVision, introducing a potential young Avenger. Eli Bradley in the comics is a patriot, or he goes by the mantra of patriot, which he is someone that has some super strength and some super abilities. And we'll see if his grandfather, if his genes is passed down to, him being a super soldier, if that's passed down from generation, and he might have some abilities of his own. But nonetheless, we get a really good moment here, a quiet moment. And again, starting with you, Chris, how did you take in this scene, man? We meet, which Carl Lumley, by the way, was just perfect in this scene. And I hope we get more of him in the show or maybe in future MCU projects. But we get the reveal that he was, once Cap was gone under ice. And, we have this experiments on Black people. We have experiment on him becoming the Captain America. He fights Bucky and beats him, which I would love a flashback of that scene some way, somehow, that fight between them two. But he gives us a moment here, and this just broke my heart when he says, I was in jail for 30 years. They were testing on me, taking my blood, which explains how the serum was continuing to go on. But before we get into the cop scene, what did you take in with this scene, Chris, regarding the introduction to Isiah Bradley, and would you like to see more from this character?
Yeah, for sure. Ever since you and Mike were talking about, the original Black Captain America with Isiah, I was really interested to see if they brought it into this series, and I'm glad that they did. I think this is probably my favorite scene of the show so far. I thought it was done well. Nothing like it wasn't cheesy, and everything was realistic.
No jokes at all.
No jokes. The grandson was very protective. I like the little, tell him this little moment of this moment in this bar. No, let him in. I thought it was dope. This dude threw whatever that shit was into the wall, so you get a little flash that this dude still has powers, but like still has a lot of pain from fucking 30 years. It's a lot of time. So I'm really, really excited to see where they take this. But for me, it was all done very well for me.
I agree with you there. Tessa, how did you take in the scene meeting Isiah? I did not expect him to be into the story this early, but as Chris was alluding to, we've been talking about it for weeks now in regards to Isiah Bradley and his connection to Captain America. I think it was inevitable that he was going to appear, but how did you take in this scene? And again, he has a lot of pain, he has a lot of trauma. He was in jail for 30 years, which is crazy. But your take on this moment here?
That is crazy. 30 years is so long. I really seriously thought this was going to be something that would be towards the final 1 or 2 episodes. I didn't think it would be this early. Mm-hmm. So that gives me hope, though, that maybe we're going to see more of it. And the grandson thing, like I said, it didn't hit me until like the second watch. And then I was like, wait a minute, that's got to be Eli. Like, has to be. I love how protective he was and how at first he's like, nope, there's no one here by that name. I don't know what you're talking about. Again, talking about the fight that he had with Bucky, took half his arm. I wanted to see if it grew back.
Scene. Like, I want to see that, man.
I know. I would love to see that. So I thought it was very well done. No jokes needed. Glad they kept away from that. Yeah. And I really hope we get more. I think we will. If this had come later in the season, I would be, maybe we won't. But I just hopefully in something in the future, especially if we do get a Young Avengers with Eli, maybe.
Yeah, and I think to that point, if we don't, which I hope we do, get more of Carl Lumley, that could be a through line for, Eli, the mentor, his grandfather. The more discussions, we might actually get that flashback of him fighting Bucky potentially if they get like a Young Avengers TV show, which I think they're going to use Young Avengers like they did the Defenders on Netflix. We're going to probably get a Young Avengers show in like 2 years, but we'll see. Brandon, man, we get Carl Lumley, man, just small, like 5-minute scene, but an impactful scene. He's a DC guy, ladies and gentlemen. Carl Lumley is a fantastic actor, stage actor, movie actor, voice actor. He does a lot of DC projects. He's Martian the Manhunter in one of the animated shows. So he knows his comics. So I was glad that he was cast in this role. But how did you take in this moment and just the idea of him being the Black Captain America, thrown under the bus, not even brought up? No one knows about the history, which again, ties into the parallels of the real world, but just your take on this sequence here, man.
Man, he killed it. This was absolutely perfect. And I got to be honest with you guys, Isiah and Eli Bradley are comic book characters that I'm just not too familiar with. I've heard of them before, but I don't know them as much as everyone else. But now that this is been showcased. I'm diving deep, trying to learn everything I can. I would love to see a flashback scene between him whooping Bucky's ass. That would be so dope, especially given what they met in he said 1951. Hell yeah!
Yep.
Like, please, like, what do I have to sign up? You can have my money, Disney.
Take my money.
Just let me know. But like you guys were saying, I agree. I love how Eli was so protective of his grandfather, just unapologetic about it. Like, y'all not getting in this house. You can leave now. I thought that was done very, very well. Yep. And I mean, this scene was just also heartbreaking. I know that when he was recruited, they recruited like 300 other soldiers as well. And this reminded me of the Tuskegee syphilis experiment.
Yep.
That's just kind of what I think that's what it was motivated from
in the comics.
Okay. Let's say, correct me if I'm wrong. So that, I mean, and just the performance itself was just phenomenal. Like, just his body language and posture when he stood up and he's like, you know what happened to me for being a hero? Like, he just like this, the tone of his voice, his mannerisms, like, you have the audacity to come at me this way. I felt it all. It was a very, very powerful scene. It struck me emotionally, and I feel sorry for Sam because he didn't know. He's trying to empathize with him, just like Isiah, and that's when he got upset and threw him out the house. But it would be a crime if we did not get more of these characters. In any, whether it's present or modern day or a flashback or preferably both. But I want to see more. This scene was perfect. It was my favorite of the episode.
Well said, man. I think for those out there that want to learn more about Isiah Bradley, I think it was a 7-issue run. I believe it was titled Truth, Red, White, and Black, which really kind of explores, again, what Brandon alluded to, them testing on 300 African Americans and the super soldier serum and all that stuff. So definitely he's an interesting character. And hell, dude, I wouldn't be surprised with announcements of, I think they announced earlier this week that Echo from Hawkeye, which I'm not too familiar with that character, might get a spinoff show. I would love a spinoff Isiah Bradley, Elijah Bradley type of show, if, kind of in the vein of a Wakanda spinoff and things of that nature. That would be really cool if they explore, because it's a great issue. He's a great character, and there's a lot of history there. So I think there's definitely a lot of potentiality of that character moving on in the MCU. But they follow that up with another, again, the jokes were on pause for a bit, ladies and gentlemen. We go into another scene here, which kind of ties into, again, this is something that Marvel has never really done in the MCU before, which is kind of tie into circumstances that we can relate to in the real world, right? I love me some Marvel. I love to escape, go into a theater in a dark room, and you don't have to worry about your problems. You're in space, you're in the water. But we see Bucky and Sam having a conversation. Why haven't you told me about this? And we get the cops that pull up, the Baltimore cops, and we get a moment that we've seen a million times in the age of social media of how it plays out. So a white person, black person get into a conversation. The black person immediately is the aggressor. The cops say, "We're not talking to you, Sam. We're talking to him. Are you okay, sir? Is he bothering you?" And we get that moment. So I know this scene, again, some people want to escape from realism. They don't want real world circumstances in their movies and shows. That's not me personally, but I get it if some people don't. But hey, Chris, man, we talked about it last week with Marvel tackling, racism, discrimination. We got that last week with the bank scene, and we continue that with this show. Your take, man, on that moment of Sam and Bucky encountering the Baltimore police?
Like, maybe change the world, and then maybe we won't have to see the world on TV. So, like, I don't really care what they say about seeing the police arrest black people. Okay, this scene is weird. It was like someone at Disney said, "Look, we need a Black Lives Matter scene with the police. What could we do?" First of all, I don't know a lot about Baltimore, but what I do know is the hood. They're black people everywhere. So like, it's one thing if like, Sam's in like some neighborhood he's not supposed to be in.
Rich neighborhood. Yeah.
These dudes are in the hood. These black kids are out there outside playing. These kids are just hanging out. Their families feel safe enough to let the kids sit outside and whatever and talk to strangers. Yeah. Number one. Number two. These motherfuckers are standing in the street for 2 seconds, just talking, not like, because they could have been like having an argument. They could have gotten into a pushing fight. Why didn't you tell me? Yeah. And then the cop says, "What the hell are you guys doing? Why are you guys pushing that white guy?" Okay, cool. Maybe that's something. They're just standing there. So it's like they just kind of threw it in. Like, yes, I'm happy to talk about Black Lives Matter in Marvel. I don't care if you're offended. If you're tired of seeing it on the news and your Marvel shows, deal with it. Stop killing us, then maybe we could take it out of this fucking thing. but don't make it cheap, because then it's like you're wasting your opportunity. Like everyone's watching this, everyone's going to talk about this, so don't cheapen it, because then people will say, oh, that's not realistic. I mean, of course, could that have happened? Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But like, if it's a TV show, you can make it anything happen. Like,
sure.
Like all the illegal shit that they have to really do as a team of like Avengers, like you choose a moment of them just talking in the street, and then it's like you get the whole like, you know, I get the whole point of like showing, yo, that's the Falcon, bro. Like, relax. You know, showing like, okay, if I'm LeBron James, but you don't recognize me, like I'm gonna get off because I'm fucking LeBron James. But if I was Chris Tait, I'm going to jail. So I get that point of like that whole scene, but like just the setup of it, I was like, come on, like it was, to me personally, my personal opinion, to steal Brandon's slogan. I was like, I see what's happening here.
And this is why I want to have this discussion. I knew this scene was going to maybe be a little bit hot and cold in regards to how it was received. Again, we know this is Disney. We live in a time now where they're, I don't want to say pandering, but there is certain companies and certain things, there's certain agendas, there's certain things you have to check off the box to kind of present in a certain way. And this is Disney, by the way. This is not a low-end company, A24 making a show. Yeah. Right. This is Disney. So like they have shareholders that stand on, and not to get too political, but there are shareholders that might feel, that are Democrats, that are Republican, that might feel a little bit uncomfortable with this scene. But the fact that they put it in there, it is interesting to see how it's played out. And I think it speaks to last week's bake scene, right? In regards to the guy, oh, let me take a picture with you. You need a loan? I'm not going to give you that, but let me get a selfie with you. And this is very similar, like you just mentioned. You know, it's almost like if LeBron James, if he's not wearing his jersey, he's just a black guy playing basketball. But when he's in his jersey, he's the best player in the world, right? And he's King James at that point. So Tessa, tossing it to you regarding the handling of social commentary thus far in the show. Has it set with you, right? Is it not being handled correctly? Just kind of your take on this sequence here.
Yeah, well, and like you said, he's like, oh, I didn't recognize you without the goggles. Was kind of like, what?
Yeah.
I feel like I can't speak like you guys can, but for me, like I'm glad that they're bringing this stuff up and they're mentioning it. And anybody who says, like, I got a lot of comments of people like they shouldn't even have this in here, and it's like, why? Because I love that they take stuff that from the real world and they're like, hey, like this is happening, and it gets it out to more people. Even if people are going to complain, whatever, people complain about everything. So, but I did feel like that scene was it was almost like, wait, where did the cops come from? It felt very abrupt, and I did feel like it was kind of stuck in there. Yeah, it was very like, it didn't feel like they weren't really fighting. Like Chris said, they're just talking, and then they come up, and then but I was just glad that it was something that they're putting in there, and I'm glad they're putting it out there, though it does feel a little manufactured. Still glad it's out there, but
and I told
they can do better.
I think because it follows that scene with Isiah, and then it follows it up with another scene. It does feel like, you know, it is kind of just forced drama just to have it there. But tossing it to you, Brandon, again, this is what Captain America is about, ladies and gentlemen. Again, like you just mentioned, Tessa, regarding comments like, oh, I don't want to see this. Well, you don't like Captain America because literally in the comics, this is Isiah Bradley's introducing that. Racism's in Captain America, government taking advantage of people. This is what Captain America is all about. And this is why I love what they've done to Captain America and MCU and kind of the realism of the world of per se. But Brandon, man, let's hear it, bro. Let's hear your opinion on this particular scene. Did it work, or did it feel a little bit too, was it cheapened a little bit, maybe feeling like an agenda to be had?
Well, before I answer that, I just want to say real quick, I think it's kind of silly when people say like, oh, I don't want to see this. It doesn't belong. You know, whatever. But I understand what they were trying to do with this scene, but this was awful. This was a horrible setup, this scene right here. I mean, this was the most shoehorned scene in the entire MCU. And Chris, like you were saying, could this happen? Yes, it could happen, but just the execution was ridiculous. You know, like it just wasn't realistic to me. Like the location just being a predominantly black neighborhood, and they weren't fighting. I mean, they should have just stressed it out a bit more. It did come off forced. It came off manufactured. You know, like y'all said, checking the box, like let's have our Black Lives Matter moment. You know, and of course I understand Sam's reaction, and I'm not giving them shit, you know, and you know, people may feel I have, you know, different opinions on that, but the scene just didn't work for me. It was very forced, and just didn't feel real at all.
Like they had to get to Baltimore. Like they can't just be speeding on the way home and then like they just pull over. Like there's something like why? Yeah, like you would pull over a black guy for speeding in this neighborhood, and then we have this conversation. Like just almost any other way. Like don't give black people a chance to be like. Then they're gonna say like, oh well, we put it in there, and then like, no, it's not what the fuck we wanted. Then they're like, oh well, like they're never happy. Oh no, we're happy, but this is fucking not good.
And the thing is that kind of concerns me because the writer Malcolm Spellman is a black guy, and
you got the chance to interview him too, which you did a great job in that interview. Yeah, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. I did, and I just it kind of seems like we've only seen 2 episodes, but there may be some type of I don't want to say conflict, but the creative vision is not melding the way I want it to between the director and the writer. It's just a feeling I have. I have nothing to really back that up with. It's just a feeling, a gut feeling. I could be completely wrong. It's just how I feel, but just because I feel some way doesn't mean I'm right. Yeah. So I could be wrong. But you know, I when I saw this scene, I'm like, wait a minute, dude. Like, you know, when I've seen you before, it seems like you would have a good understanding of how to flesh a scene like this out. So I don't get it, but that scene was bad. I rolled my eyes heavily as it was taking place.
Then we also don't know, like, sorry. Then we also don't know. We also don't know if he did write it differently, and then Disney
or
says,
editing or
it was too real. This is too real, right? Because I mean, there is a moment, not to get dark and wouldn't have you, but the cop reaches for his gun, and I was thinking, like, is the MCU going like down that path? Which they stopped, but definitely there's some moments where you can kind of see there might have been some restraints there, some editing that could have just been a little bit too real.
And I mean, of course, we know there's some trigger happy cops out there will put their hand on their weapon if you sneeze or blink, but still. So I want to just say that's impossible, but it just was bad, man. It was just like, what is this? Like, come on, like don't patronize me. You know what I'm saying? Like ooh, we got some black stuff, you know, like
especially right after the most powerful scene.
Right after that scene,
don't wash it away with this.
But exactly.
Yeah, it's and this is the conversation I want to have, and I thank my panelists for diving into it and sharing their thoughts on it, and everyone in the chat as well too. And it would have been just not to rewrite the scene, but knowing that they had said that Bucky, you're arrested because you didn't go to your therapist. That could have been the reason why they were maybe looking for them on the streets. They know they're in Baltimore. They're looking for Bucky, and that could have maybe script wise could have made it a little bit better. That's how they found them, just in the middle of the street, because they were, someone could have called the cops on them too, like Isiah or Levi could have called the cops. It would have been weird, but to see them do that, but
just real quick, one more thing. It could have worked too because but Sam was so pissed off because he did not know about Isiah. And when he asked him a question, Bucky didn't answer. And he's like, I asked you a question, Bucky. It should have extended that argument. And like one of y'all said, he should have pushed him and be like, it should have been like, I'm not saying they should have like rolled around in garbage, but it should have been some type of exchange and physicality, like, hey, I'm talking to you or something, like, it should have escalated. That would have warranted, the police interaction, to me, in my opinion. But the way it went down, I'm just like,
well, and again, we'll see with the rest of the social commentary, because I believe there's going to be more of it in the show, and I welcome it, and I want to see how they handle it. And again, I'm not from Baltimore. I don't know if there's cops on every corner of the street. I did watch The Wire, and I know those cops were corrupt in that show, and there's Baltimore incidents that's happened over the last 5 years that it kind of maybe explains kind of the police force of a sense. But we'll see what the rest of the show has to offer in regards to social commentary and the bank scene into this, and then we'll see what comes next week and see if it's handled maybe a little bit differently thematically. But again, great discussion, and I appreciate you guys having it with me, because this is what I love, these topics here. But wrapping up, now we go back to the jokes. we go back to the Bucky getting released, and this is we got strike one. John Walker tries to welcome him, and they say no. This is strike two. Hey, I'm going to get Bucky out of jail. Maybe this is some goodwill. Maybe they'll be on my team now. He says, oh, no more mandate therapy sessions, Bucky. I got you covered, got you out of jail. Sam, I'm helping out your boy. You guys want to tag along now? And they still shut him down, which leads into him saying, we'll get the hell out of my way. So he tried, ladies and gentlemen. John Walker tried to help our team out. But nonetheless, we go back to the funnies, because we get Bucky and Sam sharing a moment, couples therapy, to be exact. So again, this is where the jokes come back into the show. We see them having this moment, but even within this moment, I still think there's some good stuff within this scene, because this is when Bucky this is the acting of Sebastian Stan when he says to Bucky or to Sam, if Cap was wrong about you, giving you the shield, maybe he was wrong about me. And I thought that moment was really nice, even though it was filled with jokes and the staring in the eyes and locking the legs, all that stuff. But what was your take on this, Chris, regarding just this scene? Did the jokes work? And then more importantly, did the more emotional beats work for you? Hearing Bucky say really why he was mad at Sam, because maybe, Cap was wrong about me as a person.
Yeah, in the beginning of the chat, when Brandon was saying how like it was a little too jokey, this is the scene where it got too jokey for me, because I was like, this, like the whole rubbing knees thing. It's like, okay, like to me, I was like, oh, now they're drawing the line. Like you guys are just like in prison. Like it's like like you're really in, like you're locked up. So it's like, I don't know like how funny it would be. It's not funny. Yeah. But when it got to the serious part, then I was like, okay, I see the value of the scene. Talking about what you just mentioned as far as like, what Cap thought about you and how that reflects to me. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much how I felt about the scene. I was, at some point I'm thinking, I was confused. I thought that, the fake John Walker got them out of jail, but then I was like, did John Walker like send the cops to go get them, to bring them to jail? So I was kind of confused about that. In the end, I was just getting into my conspiracy theory mind, but for the scene specifically, I thought that's where I drew the line on jokes. I was like, enough is enough for this moment. Yeah. Of course, they're gonna, we saw some of that in the trailer. Like they're not gonna really be having a staring contest in there. Like most of all the other jokes were pretty realistic in my opinion, but like I don't think that they'd be fucking having a staring contest as grown-ups in this moment.
In an interrogation room after being arrested, which, I mean, not to go back to that scene, but it even makes me think about that scene, maybe not sticking the landing, because you would think Sam and Bucky might even had a conversation about the interaction with the cops, right? That could have been a subject matter to kind of handle, like, how that interaction went through and what could have went wrong if Sam would have got arrested or something even worse. So it kind of does make that last scene seem like the weight has been kind of taken away from it. But Tessa, your take on the couples therapy, John Walker getting them out of prison or getting Bucky out of jail. And, I mean, to Chris's point, maybe he put him in there. That would be interesting. But just your take on that whole interaction there.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about the fact that maybe he put him in there just so he could get him out but I wouldn't put it past him because I don't trust that guy and I don't like him, even though they're trying to make me like him. But I thought the scene was funny. I liked those jokes. I liked the staring contest, even though we had already seen it. And and I think that's why I knew it was coming. So I was like already laughing before it started. But when Bucky says that thing, I in the middle of the jokes, I even got a little tear in my eye. Like I felt bad because I already feel so bad for Bucky because he's trying to deal with everything he's done and prove to himself, I think, that he's not that person. And I think this shows the self-doubt that he has, that he isn't sure, am I not an assassin? Am I a horrible person? And so I liked that. And I liked that he was saying, if he's wrong about you, then he's wrong about me. And it's more reflection on himself, which is why he's so mad at Sam right now, I think. And so I really liked that part of the scene. I thought that was important in their relationship. And I'm excited to see. I didn't really I get why Sam was like mad and kind of walked away from him there. But I don't for a second believe that they're not going to talk.
They're going to be the best of friends. They're going to be the best friends.
Right. Yeah. They'll be they'll work it out. But I was still a little sad to see Bucky in this moment of being raw and then Sam just kind of walk away from him. Kind of made me even more sad.
You said something there too, Tessa, which I think explains why, everyone's like, why didn't Bucky get the shield? Well, that moment shows you why, because he has doubt in himself. If you can't be Captain America of the world if you can't even believe in yourself. So that explains why Sam is the one that's going to be ultimately probably at the end of the series holding that shield. But, not to ignore, I praise Sebastian Stan, but I know Chris is going to love this, being the big Anthony Mackie fan that he is. But, he has a good moment in this scene too, because he says, could have been that you and Cap, I was right. Maybe I made the right decision. It's just assuming I was wrong to make this moment. But I like Sam kind of pushing back a little bit, right? Of diving into a little bit of why he doesn't want that legacy of the shield. But tossing it to you, Brandon, this take of this interrogation couple scene / actually for the first time in the show, they actually have a heart to heart. They kind of have that moment with each
other. I thought it was necessary to have this scene. I didn't love it because of the jokes and the soul gazing exercise. I just didn't find it funny. However, I do agree with you guys as far as the words from Bucky just saying, okay, if Cap got it wrong for you, or then maybe he got it wrong for me. I felt that. That was very nice, very powerful. I did appreciate that. Like I said, the jokes didn't work, but this scene right here is kind of where the writing of the show started to fall apart. And I'll tell you why. It just doesn't make any sense to me when Sam said, okay, Doc, how about we squash everything right now? We go handle our business. But then when we come back, me and Bucky go on separate long vacations and we never see each other again. I don't know where that hate came from, or like why he wants to distance himself so much. And it also doesn't make sense because in the first episode where Bucky was in therapy, the doctor said, let me see your phone. It says, you've been ignoring all of Sam's text messages.
Great point.
So in the first episode, or prior to that, Sam is blowing him up, or at least he's trying to reach out to Bucky for something to get in contact with him. But now he's like, okay, let's go on vacations and never see each other again. I don't understand that at all. I don't know where it's coming from. And it's just weird. So unfortunately, I did not like this scene, other than Bucky saying, maybe Cap was wrong about me. That was pretty cool, but everything else, it just didn't work for me, unfortunately.
That's a great point you bring up regarding that Sam reached out to Bucky first, right? And it wasn't even him reaching out because he knew of the Flag Smashers. He didn't even know of the Flag Smashers prior to this show starting, right? So it wouldn't have made sense that he would have, we could have said, oh yeah, he texted him because he needed help with the super soldier. He knows a super soldier himself, but that was even before that. So that's a great point you bring up there, Brand. I think in my mind, the reason I created why they have, or at least Sam has this hatred, is because it just goes back to Winter Soldier. This man literally just tried to kill me, 7 years ago. He hasn't given that idea of, or maybe he doesn't fully trust Bucky. Him and Bucky aren't the best of friends. Him and taking Steve's word that he was a good man before he was the Winter Soldier, but maybe there's a little bit of that like mystery of like, I can't personally trust this man. I still don't know who this guy is. We fought and battled together, sure, but we've never had this. And this is what the show hopefully is going to give us, the chemistry between the two, and them learning who the real Bucky is, who the real Sam Wilson is. And that's when they're going to be the best of friends. And we'll see. But go ahead, Brandon.
I just want to say something else real quick. It does make sense to me, Sam's reaction to Bucky questioning him about why he didn't take up the mantle, even though he hasn't verbally expressed that. I get it. I can just feel it. Like, okay, like, I think he said something like, can you accept that I feel like I made the right decision or the best decision, or like maybe this is something that you and Steve just can't understand. And I was talking about this yesterday as well. Like, it kind of seems like Sam is deflecting racism. Like, he knows it exists, but he doesn't want to address it. Or talk about it. Like, you can, for me at least, you can tell in that scene that it was on his mind. Like, a lot was on his mind. Maybe a conversation he would feel more comfortable with having Rhodey there. And I hope he comes back. So that was cool. I had to throw that in there as well.
No, that's a great point you bring up there, man. In regards to again, I think Sam, I'm a soldier that fought for America. I'm a Avenger that fought for the world, and I can't get a loan for my sister and my family's boat. I can't, pay for my dad's house. So there is something that maybe he's going to realize that the color of his skin isn't, just because he's an Avenger doesn't mean he's a black man first that happens to be an Avenger. So I think that might be something they can explore in further episodes, and him and Bucky having that conversation. Because again, Bucky, he's an old soul, man. He's from the 30s and 40s. So there is, there's a conversation of just not being understanding of where Sam's coming from. So I do hope, again, we got 6 episodes. Who knows if they're going to dive into that. But that's something I look forward to, man, because there is something to be said about Sam and racism and being black in America, but also, like I said, being an Avenger. But that don't really mean much when you're not in the suit, as we saw in the scene before. Even though you're an Avenger, you still can get treated like a black man in America. So we'll see where that goes.
I'll be disappointed if they don't address it, but if they do address it, just give me something authentic, and I'm good. Just give it to me real, nothing cheap, like Chris was saying, and all will be good.
100%, man. And rap. Yeah, go. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, like to Brandon's point too, like the writing breakdown, like it could have made sense that they want to be apart if the scene after leaving Isaiah's house really got tense and really got awkward between them about why he didn't tell him. And then even if they do some police thing, maybe Bucky doesn't understand like why Sam was having a big deal. Like, just give me ID. Like, then it could have got into that kind of thing. So then
that makes sense.
It makes me wonder if it was written that way originally, or because there's a breakdown there.
Yeah, that's true. And
that would make total sense why they'd be so tense.
Yeah. And I'm excited we don't get like behind the scenes with a lot of stuff, but I know they have that assembled show. Maybe they'll dive into that a little bit more once the show is over and kind of maybe explaining. I don't think they'll pinpoint that scene, but they might explain how they handled the social commentary and maybe some things that they did.
Disney's going to be like, Elliot, you watched your live. Look,
man.
Here's the full breakdown.
Here's the full. Hey, we want to address this comment made a couple months ago, but nonetheless, to wrap up the episode here, we end on a moment that we kind of alluded to earlier with the power broker, the flag smasher who were lame. We don't even know his name. So again, it speaks to how we're going to care about this guy dying. I don't even know his name. We see them loading up the truck with the vaccines. We see the guy sacrifice himself again, like you guys alluded to. They're super soldiers. They can't just, get out of there as quickly as possible. But they don't. That felt manufactured. That felt like, oh, you're supposed to care about these characters, which I haven't yet. But we see the biggest thing I do want to focus on, though, is this idea of the power brokers. Karli stole these vaccines. He's going to kill her. Who are the power brokers? Who do you guys think? Is this something that ties to Zemo? Is this something that, for the comic book fans out there, the character that actually tested on John, Battlestar, it actually has a little bit of ties to Eli, is a character by the name of Dr. Carl Maldus. Now, he's a mad scientist of a sorts. He may be Karli's dad, potentially. We'll see. But he's a scientist that experiments on people. So, and I don't know if you guys watched Jessica Jones on Netflix season 2. He was actually a character that was in that show because and then again they took the comics and they made him a mad scientist that tested on her as a child or when she got into a car accident. But do you guys have any thoughts, theories on yet again 6 episodes, another villain? But Brandon, we'll start with you, Brandon. What did you think about the power brokers, and do you think this is someone that we should be looking out for in the future of the show?
Definitely. I hope they flesh him out. I need a good badass villain right here. Even if he's over the top. Just because me personally, I'm not too familiar with the power brokers, so I don't have any expectations. Just kind of give me somebody cool. That's they don't got to be that strong, but just really really smart or something. Because in this scene, it was like, oh, these are the power brokers men. Yep. And they had a lot of cars, and so I'm thinking, okay, it seemed pretty organized,
Right. Right.
So I don't have any theories or anything like that. Maybe whether it's Mephisto or not.
It's Mephisto. It's
Mephisto.
But,
it is confirmed.
I don't. We'll see. I'm kind of. I like that the power brokers are some organization or person or both behind the scenes, pulling the strings to a degree. So that's cool. Yeah. But like we was talking about earlier, the sacrifice thing was bad. It was silly. Yeah. I didn't really care for it. It was a waste. But other than that, I do like. I'm just really interested in seeing where this power broker thing goes.
Yeah, and even the guy that sacrificed himself, if we could have just had a scene with him and Karli before that, like that could have been her brother, that could have been her cousin, boyfriend, whoever, but he's just a random guy. Yeah. But Tessa, your thoughts and theories on the power brokers again, the connections to the MCU, they might do their own remix. Hell, this might be the same person. I don't know why this is coming to my mind, but I don't know if you guys remember, we never got the reveal of the villains in Ant-Man and the Wasp. It was just some person that wanted the Hank Pym serum, and we never learned who that was. It could be the Mandarin, it could be this power broker, but this is just my mind spinning. But Tessa, your take on this group, is it make it fearful that, okay, we're getting 3 villains in this show and it's only 6 episodes left, or it could be Zemo, again, potentially behind the scenes?
Yeah, I hope it's not Zemo because I think that wouldn't fit well for me. I think he'll have some information, but he's not going to be behind it. Hopefully anyways. And unfortunately, I think this means Zemo is probably pretty quick. And then maybe towards the end, he becomes big. And then, so now he'll become Reed Richards. It's Reed Richards all along. And Mephisto, they teamed up. But no more theories. No, I don't think it's going to be Zemo. I think it's going to be this power broker. That's a fair point about Ant-Man and the Wasp. I hadn't even ever thought about that. Now you've got me theorizing, which is
just a thought.
Because no one thinks about Ant-Man and the Wasp. That's why.
It
actually
does
accurate.
get forgotten. It gets forgotten about, unfortunately. But I mean, Chris, just tossing it to you, man, in regards to the power brokers and another influence, another villain that could be too many villains is sometimes a little bit nervous, for a show. But any thoughts on the power brokers? And again, I guess I should allude to Karli was afraid of them. She was like, oh my, it's them. We need to go. So it makes me think that they are, a group of people, even though they're super soldiers. Are they super soldiers that they're scared of? Like, these are guys with guns. You're people with superpowers. So there must be something bigger with this power broker than just people with guns, right?
Yeah, I really have no idea. I don't know the background of it. There's some interesting stuff going on in the chat about it, but yeah, I'm interested to see how it goes, but I have no idea. I refuse to even conjecture about it.
I mean, to Michael's point, so again, this knowing that Carl is someone that experiments on people, and Torres, who becomes the Falcon, like literally he becomes a Falcon in the comics. Yeah. I think this through line of this show, and this speaks to John Walker, his best friend Battlestar, and this might be something Sam might have to face. Who wants to be a super soldier? Who doesn't want to be a super soldier? And that might speak to, again, John taking the serum and maybe having some bad side effects, and him not being a good guy, but not being, being a bad guy, and his best friend taking it. And there might be some things of experimenting on people, as we know in Captain America. There might be some other things in regards to, I know you're gonna like this, Tessa, with Mephisto, some X-Men, maybe some mutant genes, and people
experimenting. Will come back.
A lot of people are theorizing that Wolverine might have the X program, might make, because there's a lot of experiments going on in the MCU. So I'm throwing out the stuff at the wall. Yeah, I'm just throwing stuff at the wall at this point. Just having a good time with the WandaVision theories. But no, there is something to be said about this power broker. And I think they're going to have a big influence on the show. I hope it doesn't overshadow Zemo, because he's one of my favorite villains in the MCU, because he accomplished what he went out for, which is breaking up the Avengers. But we'll see what comes of that. Which, wrapping up the recap and wrapping up the discussion here, we end with Bucky saying, I got to go to him. And I love how it like sets up like Hannibal Lecter almost. And he's we get the shot of him playing chess, which kind of alludes to the character playing chess with the Avengers and all that stuff, and him just waiting to come out and come out of his cage. And I assume either break out of jail or, Captain America helps him out. We'll see. But we end with Zemo, which alludes, brings us to the question to the panel, Chris. Zemo, man, this is going to be episode 3. Is he going to be the big bad? Is he going to just be used for a couple episodes and used for a movie later on? What do you hope to get from Zemo in this show, man?
Yeah, I do not think he's going to be the big bad at all. I think he's going to be like a little landing spot on the way to the big bad. I don't think we see him after this show, maybe ever. Here's my vibe that I got from Zemo. I don't know if you guys ever watched Ocean's 13. That's where like they had to team up with Andy Garcia for a little bit. Then they
take down the
yeah, exactly. So I feel like it's one of those like TV show moments where it's like, all right, we can't go to this guy. No, we have to. And then it's like they use him a little bit. Yeah, I'm interested to see how they flip that, because like realistically, like Bucky should want to rip his head off, but if he needs something, he needs something. So maybe, like I said, if it's Andy Garcia, they use him for what they need, but then in the end, still screw him. So we'll see how that goes. But I don't foresee him being a huge part of this show. To me, it would kind of seem like a recycle for Marvel, but you never know.
It's a good point, man. You bring up with Zemo regarding. It was in episode 1 when Bucky was making amends. Zemo's name was on that list, so I think, which I don't know why Bucky would want to apologize to him, because what would Bucky have to apologize to Zemo? He was the one that made you go back to your dark mode.
Unless the list isn't just for apologies, unless it's just like we don't have conversations with other people. How it goes, that's how it goes.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw in the trailer him having, we see Bucky points a gun at Zemo and ultimately takes the bullets out, but we'll see what comes of that. But Tessa, regarding Zemo, big influence on the rest of the show, as Chris alluded to. Maybe he's not as involved as we might have wanted him to be.
I love Zemo, but I think unfortunate, and I feel like we needed a better Zemo, and then I saw his OG mask for this, and I was all excited. But unfortunately, I think with 4 episodes left, and they now are just bringing him up, and we've got the power broker coming, who I think is going to be the big bad in this, and potentially even a big bad in the future. Like I could see that, and that's where we get Falcon, or Torres becoming Falcon, and all that.
Right.
I think this is more, again, it's a setup. This is what's going on. It's an in-between to lead you so that they don't have to waste time, so to speak, in a future movie to set stuff up. I think Zemo is going to be a quick in and out. They're going to use him for what they want. And it stinks because I love Zemo and I really wanted a really good Zemo. Yeah. But I hope they surprise me, but I don't think they will. I think it's going to be a quick little blip with him, unfortunately.
I think what Tessa and what you're saying, I think that might end up happening because I'm just thinking in my head, for someone that doesn't watch WandaVision, that someone doesn't watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, the way that they ended WandaVision, I would recommend people seeing it, but you don't have to see WandaVision the way they ended it. You just see her next time that she's still grieving. She's in this mountain by herself. And the same could be said about Falcon and Winter Soldier, that last time you saw Zemo, he was in jail. So I don't think I think there's some things they want to keep for the movies and some things they want to keep for just a through line of continual building these secondary characters. But Brandon, man, is it a bummer that we might not get Zemo, or are you okay with that, them saving him for something a little bit more greater?
It doesn't really matter to me. Yeah. I'm excited to see him. Yeah. But I'm not like over the moon, like, oh my God, I can't wait. He's gonna pop up in the next episode. I would be disappointed though if we don't see him further in the MCU past this show. Yeah. I personally just don't like when or if they kill off villains. I don't think Zemo will be the big bad. Like Chris said, I think he's a stepping off point to someone else, maybe the power broker. And I have heard the theories that they think that Sam and Bucky is going to team up with him. I don't see that happening, but I'm not against it. It kind of seems like maybe that could happen. We'll just have to see. But I'm glad that he's in this episode because I did want more from him. I did want more from him than we got in Civil War. And I am just excited to see him in the purple mask. Yeah. And I hope they kind of give a reason to why he's wearing it. He's just not like, I want to wear a purple mask randomly. Like why though? Like, I hope we get a reason of why. So we'll have to see. I'm kind of on the fence. I'm interested, but not overly excited about it.
Something that I saw online, this was like when the trailer first dropped, some people were theorizing that that would be pretty cool if he does this. The reason he puts on the mask, the reason it's purple, is to remind the Avengers of Thanos and like having that PTSD of like, kind of, which it doesn't look like Thanos, but just the idea. I guess if they see purple, they'll just have a triggering point. They'll just go back to that moment. But that would be pretty interesting if that is kind of a reason why.
Two things real quick. The comment from Michael, Black Hand Comic Geek, about Battlecoon is hilarious.
Oh, I saw that.
I'm laughing my ass off over here. However, what I would love to see, I don't know if they'll do it, is I'm assuming that Zemo memorized the commands to brainwash Bucky.
Yeah.
We know, or we are assuming that that's no longer a problem, that Shuri fixed them. Right. We don't know that. But Zemo doesn't know that. He doesn't know that Wakanda was supposedly fixed. So if you go see him up episode 3,
and he tries to recite those.
Has his lunch tray, eating his food, and looks up and it's Bucky there. Yeah, I kind of wonder if he's going to try to recite the 17 Homecoming, and and it would just kind of be funny if Winter Soldier's like, it doesn't work anymore, buddy.
Or he tries to play into it and like, nope, you don't got me anymore. In your control.
That would be funny. Or what if it still does work? Shit, who knows? But that's just, my neighbors are going crazy. I'm sorry, but that's just on my mind right now. So I just want to see how that's going to play out.
That's a great point. I'm really excited to see them come together because there is some obviously amends to be made from Zemo at least to Bucky, but Bucky, we'll see how he interacts with them, seeing Zemo for the first time. But that's a great point there, and I'm excited to see what we get from him. Again, I like Tessa and Chris brought up, he might not be as involved in the show. I think they do want to keep some villains for movies and keep some storylines for the movies. And who knows, Zemo, he has a comic book run where he brings together the Masters of Evil. He might be putting together a team of his own that might allude to a bigger film And also, I think that's what Black Widow might have had a little bit of Thunderbolts and General Ross creating Taskmaster, recruiting Zemo, recruiting all the other villains that have survived in MCU to go against the Avengers and maybe an Avengers 5 or something like that. So we'll see what MCU has up their sleeve when it comes to Baron Zemo. But I'm looking forward to it. I think the actor and his role, and he accomplished exactly what he set out for. So wrapping it up, starting with you, Chris, just overall, take on this episode, and if you have any thoughts, theories, predictions of sorts of what you would like to see next week, man.
Yeah, so again, I mentioned in the beginning, I really like the episode. We talked about the things that I didn't like. I know that the jokes is going to be kind of like a split down the middle, how you feel about it. In Marvel overall, I like the jokes as long as they're not corny. So I was fine with it, minus the scene in the interrogation room. I hope that we get a lot more of Isaiah's story next week. So I'm really excited to see that, number one, and then number two, just to see like if I'm supposed to hate John Walker next week, or is it the week after, or the week after? That's kind of what I want to get.
We're going to meet his kids. He's going to be a great. He's going to meet his grandmother. Yeah. We're going to meet the whole family, man.
Like, if I see that kid giving out food to the homeless in the hood, like I'm canceling my Disney Plus subscription. But overall, I thought it was a good episode. I think it's. Again, it's very impressive. Disney they just keep on the ball just rolling. So just impressive to see what we get from just a series. What we thought would be kind of like a watered down movie, but we're getting some quality shit here. So just excited to see episode 3.
Tessa, overall take on this episode, and if there is anything that you would like to see in episode 3 of the Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I was excited to see Bucky and Sam together and their banter, and I'm hoping they start to heal and become friends. I'm sure by the end of it, they'll at least tolerate each other a little more. So I'm excited to see that and their bond kind of as they work together and go through this. I'm excited for Zemo. Hopefully next episode. I mean, they've got to have him next episode. Has to be. Yep. Or, So, and I do want more Isaiah. I really, really do. So I hope we get that. I don't know. I'm starting to get real nervous knowing there's only 4 episodes left, and I feel like there's so much I want them to tackle. Yeah. That's the thing that makes me the most nervous. Yeah. But because there's going to be stuff they don't answer.
That is true. That is true. I'm thinking of WandaVision. Again, they set up Monica Rambeau, and we're going to get her continuation. So I hope this doesn't happen, but I can see them doing that with Isaiah and Eli. Yeah. They introduce you to them, and then we're going to see them later on in some other show or movie in the future. But fingers crossed that we get more of Carl Lumley, because he's a fantastic actor.
At least a little bit. Just a little bit right? More.
I would love to see. I know this won't happen, and I don't want to open up the can of worms of the whole Steve Rogers, Chris Evans thing, but old man Cap.
I know.
Isaiah have a conversation. Yeah.
They're talking about him like he's dead. I don't think he's dead.
He's not. But Brandon, man, your overall thoughts on this episode and any predictions for next week's episode?
Oh yeah. Well, first, Steve Rogers is definitely not dead.
No. He's out there.
But kind of like I said in the beginning. Overall, I still enjoyed the first episode better than the second. The second episode wasn't trash. It was just mainly the jokes didn't work for me. Yeah. That was a main thing. A couple of nitpicks here and there that we already discussed. I am a bit concerned, because we only have 4 episodes left. But I'm gonna be patient. I have faith. I would love to see more of Isaiah. It would be a shame if we didn't. And, when it comes to the whole race thing, I was very excited when I read that this show would tackle a lot of race issues. But I just wanted to be genuine and authentic. The bank scene, that worked, but the cop scene didn't. So they're kind of 1 for 1 right here, 50-50. So I hope they handle that well. If they're not, just don't put it in the show. Just don't. Because, but overall, it's a solid show. I'm on board. I don't want to get my expectations too high, but overall, I am enjoying what we're seeing. So,
no doubt. And then, did you have any things you would like to see next week in regards to other characters maybe coming up? Or,
well, I want to see more Zemo. I don't want them to spend too much time on him.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I don't have anything. I don't know. They need to make us. They need to have an exposition dump, and I really don't like exposition dumps. But one for the Flag Smashers and what their motivation is, and why are they so gung ho on their mission? And why is this guy sacrificing himself?
Yeah.
Like this is just like the thing of the millennia or something. Like, they gotta flesh that out right there. But
that's I totally agree with you, man. I think, and that's something I hope we see. Just for my general thoughts, I really enjoyed this episode. There were some things that could have been ironed out a little bit better, but in regards to just the storylines, the continuation, learning who these characters are is working for me. The action's top notch, as we discussed earlier. And it does get me a little nervous that we have 4 episodes left and there's still going into my predictions. I think Sharon Carter will make her premiere in the season next week, and we'll see what she's been up to and her getting involved with the group. And I think we will, to Brandon's point, I think we might get like a flashback of a young Karli growing up, who her parents are. Because again, we don't know if her parents are dead or alive, if they are good people, bad people, if they work for the government or not. I think we're going to get a little bit of understanding of where the Flag Smashers are coming from, or who is the one that kind of pushed them to start this organization. Again, Zemo. And I guess that's a great question to be asked. Was Zemo blipped for 5 years, or was he in jail this whole time? What's his whole through line and all that stuff? And I guess was Shannon gone too? Was she on the run for 5 years? So I think next week will be kind of it's going to move the story forward, but we're going to get maybe some answers of what we can expect from the finale of the show, and maybe continuation throughout the MCU. So thumbs up for me. Excited for next week. Excited for the conversation that we're going to have next week and diving into more of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So before we head out, if there's any other maybe 5 more minutes or so, if you guys have any pressing questions for Chris, Tessa, or Brandon, go ahead and leave it in the chat, and we'll try to address them before we head out. But just kind of a side conversation with the panel here. We talked about it up top with this show. To me, is it just me, or is it not getting the same buzz as WandaVision? Is it just me, or am I know last week they said it was the highest rated or the most watched Disney premiere over The Mandalorian, over WandaVision itself, but is it just, to me, this feels like DC's winning the social media tags in the conversation? But Chris, am I making that up, or do you feel a little bit of the same?
You're not making it up, and I don't think it's their fault. I don't know if it's Marvel's fault. WandaVision, I think it gets more buzz too because it was so confusing. Like, people were trying to figure it out. Like, here, it's like, it's like, okay, it's like we got to figure shit out in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but it's not like, all right, what the hell is happening? Like, it was so different. And also, it was the first one. Like, we didn't get any Marvel for a year and a half or whatever. So you're gonna have some sort of welcome back excitement. Trying to figure out what the hell's going on in the show. Yeah. And I don't remember what it came out against, but going against the Snyder Cut, that's tough. I don't know if it's a fault of Disney or Marvel, but you are right. But I also don't think it's like getting forgotten. I still see people, staying up till 3 a.m. and there's some
watch parties and all that.
In the community, but I just think that's why we're seeing that. It's like a different vibe and different time than WandaVision.
Totally. And until a lot of people's comments in the chat that, obviously, like you mentioned too, Chris, the mystery box of WandaVision, the year and a half of being off of MCU, it had that to its advantage. But I just feel like, that just like doesn't have the same buzz. There's not the crazy theories out there with Mephisto and Nightmare and all that. But just to your point, Tessa, do you think there's a little bit of the buzz isn't there for the show quite yet? Or do you feel like it's just timing, that it's just,
I don't, it's weird because I had this conversation with some other people actually just this morning, and we were saying how our content isn't doing as well. And there's not as many tweets about it. And you get for like half the day Friday, like by the end of the day Friday, nobody's talking about it anymore.
Suicide Squad all day yesterday. Yeah.
Well, that was
awesome.
A whole other thing. But which maybe that's part of it too, right? We had Snyder Cut, then we had the Suicide Squad trailer, and so that could be too. But I think it really is also, like Chris said, like we know what's happening, and even though we're like, okay, what's going on with the Flag Smasher? It's still like, you're not like, whoa, what's going on? Like, who's this person? What is this? It's just a whole different type of beast, and it's just but it is kind of a bummer to see that by midday Friday nobody's talking about it anymore.
Yeah, and tossing it to you, Brandon, again. It's not going to get easier for Falcon and Winter Soldier because literally next week we got 2 kaijus fighting and Godzilla versus Kong. 2 weeks after that we got Mortal Kombat, and I think there might be something else on this finale. So it's not like they're going to be just coasting to the finale with just high numbers. But I think it's what speaks for us. We're the fans. We got all this great content to look forward to. Invincible the other day, and there's other great shows too. So is it just a matter of fact of just great time to be alive, Brandon, or is Marvel just like, God damn it, another big hit after another big hit?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
Like Chris was saying, I don't think it's the fault of Marvel.
Yeah.
Y'all made up great points that we just, WandaVision, was the first Marvel thing we got in like a year.
Yeah.
However, I don't think it's dead. It's not as much buzz, but I think that's just because the WandaVision buzz didn't really pick up until episode 4, and then especially episode 5.
Yeah.
Because that explained everything in 2 ways. And so unless we get kind of some giant Easter egg reveal, like supposedly, we thought it was quick, we thought it was Evan Peters
Pietro,
Ralph
Boner.
I was like, it was a pre-laugh. I knew it was coming.
She couldn't even fight it.
I couldn't. I tried.
So I think that's kind of what has to do with it. So maybe in episode 3 or 4 of the Falcon and Winter Soldier, it'll pick up.
Right.
But the show is just as good. It's not like the quality is lacking. Anything like that. So, and plus you're giving the general audience more of what they wanted, because first 2 episodes was a mystery of WandaVision. And everybody was like, not everybody, we weren't.
Right.
Audience was like, what the hell is this? So, but I think it'll pick up. I definitely do. So I'm not worried about that.
Definitely. And Michael brings up a great point too. WandaVision literally had no competition outside of, there was, of course, Judas and the Black Messiah, Malcolm and Marie, and there was a couple other things that came out, but nothing to the effect of Zack Snyder's Justice League, King Kong versus Godzilla, Mortal Kombat. But, that just speaks to all those delays. Things are coming out now. So Marvel finally has some, quote unquote competition for the first time in a long time. But again, I think the conversation is still being had. I think it's a great conversation to have, as we do every single Saturday on this show. And I enjoyed this conversation that we had today, and we're gonna call it a day, ladies and gentlemen. It's a 2.5, almost 2.5 hour discussion, and I had such a great time with Chris, Tessa, and Brandon, and I really appreciate you guys coming on and sharing your thoughts on the show. And again, this hopefully won't be the last time I have you guys on the channel and collaborate with you all in the future, because you guys are awesome. So before we wrap up, plugs, ladies and gentlemen, we got a plug, starting with you, Chris, man. If you want to let the fine folks know, we'll have you back next week as my amazing co-host, and Amanda will be back as well. But what are the people, what can they expect from Tate's Take this week, my friend?
Man, you always catch me off guard, but yeah, this week, what are we doing this week? I want to check out, we talked about the Amazon show. I want to check out Them. That's the new show that looks like Us, but it's not connected to us. On my channel, I just did a review for the Irregulars, which is the new Netflix documentary, new Netflix series, kind of like on the Sherlock Holmes, but with a paranormal twist. Netflix, kind of got some controversy now because they did the diversity thing with it. People are still upset that Black characters are playing in these roles from the past. I don't know why, but I got a fight on YouTube about it every week, so there's that. But yeah. My channel is straight TV reviews, say movie reviews. I can try to give you some background on the topics, just give you a little more in-depth stuff and just let you know what I think about it. I appreciate coming on here every week. And like I said in some other streams, but Elliot, your Rolodex is crazy. The people you get to bring on the show as co-hosts and as guests are people that I'm a fan of on the internet that I never thought I would be on a panel with. So just keep up the good work. I'm just happy to be a part of your journey. So just thanks again for the time. It was good talking to Tessa and Brandon for sure today. I thought that was a really good discussion.
No doubt, man. And I'm more than thankful to have the amazing co-hosts like yourself and Amanda and amazing guests that we get every week, which, speaking of our amazing guests, Tessa, again, coming back from WandaVision into this. And hopefully, again, we can talk maybe some other shows and movies in the future. But if you want to let the fine folks know what you got lined up this week and where they can find you on the internet.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me again. Always happy to come. It's always a good time and a good conversation. That's funny you bring up them. I just watched the first 3 episodes today, and I've got the rest of them to check out. So I will have that review coming. I think Friday is when embargo breaks on that. But definitely check it out. That's what I'll say, because I don't think I'm allowed to say more. But I got 7 episodes left to watch of that, and I'm addicted to it already. But yeah, so I've got that coming up. I have an interview with Tom Kenny, who's the voice of SpongeBob, as well as many other people. That should be up probably Wednesday, so that'll be coming up. And you can find me at Mama's Geeky on here, as well as on all social media. And I know I have something else coming up, but I don't remember. So just stay tuned.
And that just speaks to the great content. She's put out so much great content for you all. So definitely to Chris, to Tessa, subscribe, hit that bell, guys, because they put out so much great content for you all. You don't want to miss it. And last but not least, like I said up top, this is his first time on the show, but I've been a fan of his for a while. I was so honored to have him on to talk Falcon and Winter Soldier. And I know he has a lot of great stuff lined up for you all. So Brandon, man, where can the people find you, and what's the next thing they can look forward to on Just My Opinion?
Well, first, Elliot, I just want to say thank you, man, for having me on as a guest. I do appreciate the invitation. I had a blast. So thank you. And also, Tessa and Chris, it was lovely talking to you guys today and meeting you. It was a great discussion. So I do appreciate it as well. You can find me, of course, here on YouTube at Just My Opinion Reviews, my website at justmyopinion.net, or Twitter and Instagram at justmyopinion84. I do movie reviews, trailer reactions, TV news, recaps, and I have a weekly movie news show. What I have coming up is I will be reviewing Godzilla vs. Kong this week. Also, I do need to get caught up on Superman and Lois on the CW. That's a pretty good show, and I've been doing recaps of that lately as well. And so just the review coming up, Godzilla vs. Kong, Superman and Lois. And I'm also trying to check out that Invincible show on Amazon that I've been hearing nothing but good things about. So I may do a video on that as well. And I have a few other things that I have cooking, but I don't want to say just yet, but I'm pretty excited about it. And hopefully it does well.
No doubt. And yeah, definitely, Brandon, check out Invincible, man. It's
so good.
It's good, man. It's a good show.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But ladies and gentlemen, for my amazing co-host Chris, check him out on YouTube. Check him out in the link in the bio. All his links are in the bio, as well as Tessa and Brandon. You're not going to be disappointed, ladies and gentlemen. They have incredible content, and you're going to love it. So again, hit that bell, because they come out with content consistently, and it's always fire. So with that being said, thank you everyone that tuned in the live stream. Again, we thank you for tuning in on Saturdays. We're going to be back next week talking Falcon and Winter Soldier Part 3 or Episode 3, and dive into it with some amazing special guests. And of course, Amanda will be back, as well as Chris. So again, like the video, share the video. If you're watching this on the replay, hope you enjoyed the discussion. Again, everyone stay safe out there. We got a lot of great stuff to look forward to in the coming weeks, and I can't wait to break it down with you all. So with that, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you guys on the next video.
Peace.